Hello, everyone. I am live. Yes, I know I started earlier than some of you were expecting, but considering that I don't normally do live streams unless I decide to do it on the spot, and I was planning on doing a stream before the election anyway. The reason for doing it as early as I am doing it, for some people, it may be later in the day, depending on where you're at if in the world, it's because I don't want to do this later in the day. I personally do not. There's other things I'd rather be doing, but considering my output for the past almost week now, I feel like I should at least do one last video to close this off because after this, I will not be doing any videos until after the election. And the reason for that is okay, what more can I say after this? Whatever I'm going to be saying, I may end up going to detail for the other videos I previously have done. Hell, I may even do a reaction to that one reactionary shithead that tells us to vote for Harris if you care about Gaza. It's unfortunate that the people that are here, and hopefully everyone who watched this after the stream is over, heard everything I said. I expect a lot of reaction. I expect some reactionary shitheads to show up because it's election season. There's people that are hate watching my content. You know who you are. Don't fucking pretend you're not hate watching me. I know who you are. For any Trump supporter that comes here, for any Kamala Khan supporter that comes here, I might tolerate you for a little bit before I block you, but don't expect to be welcomed here, because I don't welcome genocidal fascists. I don't. What's up? Because I think anyone that supports Trump or Harris is a genocide supporter. They don't care about genocide. In fact, especially I'm speaking mostly to Kamala Khan's supporters here. Genocide is okay because as long as their first world comforts are taken care of, they don't give a damn that Kamala Harris burns the third world. And people could be who probably don't fucking actually watch me. It's like, you care so much about what happens in other people's countries and not your own. A genocide affects everyone, okay? If we allow the ruling class in America to get away with genocide in Gaza while it's being streamed live, what other genocides could they get away with? This is about the bigger picture. And it's not like Gaza is the first place that America has done a genocide. And people could try to separate America's responsibility what Israel does, but no, you can't do that. Israel is America, and America is Israel. America supports Israel in every way that matters, economically, militarily. There is no escaping responsibility from this. They'll try. They will attempt to do that when Israel suffers the same fate as South Africa as an apartheid state. But it doesn't change the fact that it will fall. How many Palestinians, Lebanese, and Syrians and Iranians have to die before that happens is another story, though. It's scary. It really is scary. And these arguments I'm constantly hearing from liberals about if we don't vote for Joe Biden, Trump will make things worse. It's not like Trump isn't guilty of committing a genocide in his prior administration. Trump is a genocider as well. And the very fact that people could say he's going to make things worse is completely ridiculous because he's already done that before. Trump is as much as a bloodthirsty imperialist as Harris is. None of these people are innocent. None of them. And none of these people actually have any policies that are different from each other. It's the fucking same. I'm so fucking sick and tired of hearing the lesser evil argument. It's fucking exhausting. And the complete disregard for the Arab Americans' votes in this country sickens me even more. It's like, you think you could basically tell the people of Michigan to vote for the lesser evil when they've lost family members to this genocide? Or how, okay, I'm not a religious person, but I'll just say this. When Israel is destroying the holy sites of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, this country is destroying history of these three Abrahamic faiths. Churches that have existed for thousands of years have been destroyed in the past year. This country has destroyed history. And you know what? Destroying holy sites is a form of genocide, mind you, because that's culture that's being erased. That's history that's being erased. Of course, these people don't care about that because they're chauvinistic pieces of shit that do not care that other people's cultures are being wiped out because they don't see them as valuable. They don't see the cultures that these Arabs are a part of in Michigan, as an example, as valuable. It is part of their culture. And their culture is being fucking erased by Israel and America at the same time. Bill Clinton, of course, I wish I forgot he was fucking even alive. Did one of the most ghoulish things that you could look it up. Basically, doing what every other fascist reactionary does regarding Palestine, denies that there ever was a Palestine, and denies the indigenous people's right to that region. He was claiming the fucking genociders, the people who occupy Israel, or it isn't real, are the fucking indigenous people there. Like, what kind of bullshit shit is that? People who have thousands of years of history, you could do a DNA test and tracing them to the tribes of that region. They are indigenous to that region. Most of these fucking people who are Israeli, so-called Israelis, most of their ancestry, the recent one, traces back to Eastern Europe in one way or another. They're not indigenous to that land. Yeah, it just every single person has shown their true colors in this election cycle. People that I used to like watching, I can't fucking stand them now. I get sickened just by seeing their presence. Like Jessie Gender is an example of someone I used to love watching, but ever since her like almost 5-hour fucking Zionist apologelia video, I cannot even stomach to see anything she does, and how she slandered Second Thought, one of the most principled communists on this platform, who actually was kicked off Nebula because he talked about what was going on in Palestine too much. Like, people like her are fucking cowards. It doesn't matter if they are good on other issues. When it comes to the most important issues, Palestine, if you're not willing to fucking put your foot down on that, so fuck you. Then you have that dumbass, I'm not even call it a dumbass, a reactionary shit lib, Steve, whatever you call him, I don't even care to remember his name, do a video, and I've responded to it earlier this week, about angry about Gaza, vote for Kamala Harris. Yeah, vote for the same genocidal monster that has the blood of children on her hands. Yeah, that makes total fucking sense. Oh, you don't care about the people of Gaza if you refuse to vote for Harris. Like, yeah, fuck you. Like, the amount of gaslighting I have seen from liberals in this election cycle is so sickening. I swear to God, I've grown to hate liberals even more, and it's hard to believe it's even that I could hate liberals more than I do currently. They're just fucking disgusting human beings. Liberals are. They are the fucking worst. They're the absolute worst. yeah, conservatives are awful people. And I'm not saying cultural conservatives. I'm separating that from politically conservative people because I don't think they're the same thing. Because that would basically be chauvinistic against those in the global south. I'm talking about political conservatives. They're disgusting people with disgusting beliefs that don't actually believe in conservative values themselves. The only conservative values they actually value are the ones that benefit them. They don't actually care about the family. They don't care about anything that conservatives in the global south, I'm talking about cultural conservatives, not political, care about. Like the things that social conservatives value, such as family, they don't value that. In fact, they look down on the people in the global south. Those who are familiar with Asian families, how they live together, they tend to do in the global south, how they tend to take care of each other, and how they don't just leave each other out to dry when they turn 18. They don't do that. They actually support each other and find ways to actually help their children go to college. That to me is like, that's not the same thing as that kind of conservative is not the same as a political conservative who only cares about a few aspects of it and nothing else. And American conservatives are just fucking fascists. They're not conservative in the slightest, and they don't hide their fascism. They don't. The more overt conservatives, like, they don't fucking hide their fascistic and chauvinistic views onto the world. Like Trump's fucking Nazi rally, like it sounded like something I would hear in the 1940s. Just instead of speaking German, they were speaking English. Like the language they were using was very fucking nothing but chauvinistic bullshit. Like someone I forgot existed. I kid you not. Dr. fucking Phil. He sounded like a Nazi. It's like, wait, how can I take this fucker seriously?
How's it going?
Nothing. I've just been talking about. Okay, I don't know if you've watched it, but I talked about political conservatives and social and cultural conservatives. How they're not the same thing, and how political conservatives don't actually respect conservative values at all. When you break it down objectively, I mean materially.
Oh yeah, I heard that I joined in the part where you were talking about like the liberal gaslighting and stuff, and a couple of the videos that I've done recently have been about that. That one, for instance, of a couple of individuals that I had come across in the trans subreddit. So that was, that was really great. People that are claiming also to be, anarcho-communists and such. So it's like, yeah.
Well, like Dr. Phil, I'm just serious. I cannot take that guy seriously. And I heard him, and he sounded like a Nazi in the Nazi rally with Trump.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I forgot he existed. I'm not even joking. It's like, where the fuck is this guy? How is he still relevant?
Honestly, I kind of never have given him even a thought in my mind in like, I don't know, 10 or so years, because it's like, to be quite honest, up until a few days ago, I thought he was dead.
I never took him seriously. It's like, is this guy? Is he? He's not a doctor.
But yeah, no, it's just like I pretty much. There's a video that I'm putting out tomorrow that's going to be talking about. That's going to be talking about like some of the issues that have been going on around the country, and with more specific specific emphasis on like the local area that I'm from. And because, there's been like ballot boxes that have been, there was like, I think 3 of them within the Portland Metro that were set on fire, and they destroyed like about 500 ballots, but all of them have been replaced and whatnot. And it was funny because I was talking to my partner about this the other day, and showed them that, and they were like, "Yeah, we have a healthy, democracy or whatever you want to call it." That was what,
I think it was Trump that did that.
I think, yeah. So,
okay. Hypothetically, if the only positive thing I could see in a Harris victory is to see Trump supporters humiliated. That's the only thing that I'd get any satisfaction I would get, because I fucking hate Trump supporters. I think that they're some of the most they're some of the most nastiest people I've ever fucking met. And those who like want to argue like, oh, my uncle used to be this and this person, or my aunt, but they became so unhinged in the past 10 years. Like, I'm just gonna say this: if you actually buy into Trump's bullshit, you were always a shit person. Like, if you support open Nazi, like an open Nazi, I don't know if Trump is a Nazi, but he sounds like one though. I think you're a bad person, especially if you embrace open fascism.
Yeah. And the thing is that, but you see, that's kind of the thing, is that, they are very open about it. And that's what definitely separates them from, the, Demofash, because the Demofash are basically very closeted. I mean, this is this is what you and I have both been saying, essentially, is that, is that they are very closeted with their racism, closeted with their homophobia and their transphobia.
I think that's starting to become less, because if you heard Bill Clinton's speech, he didn't sound any different than your average Republican.
Oh, I'm not surprised. Honestly, it's when you kind of consider the older, the older crowd, like him, like, yeah, the older you get, the more, the more reactionary one tends to get. And it's, and in his case, yeah, I'm not surprised. To be quite honest, I think that man's going senile.
It's like, okay, I'll probably say it again later. I actually do think Harris is more likely to win than Trump. I think Trump is so unappealing to young people, and forget the older generations for a second. I think most people who support Trump are not young people. They're people that are in their like mid 40s to like 80s. They're the people that most people that support Trump. People within the Gen X to the boomer like generations. They're the
right.
Trump.
Yeah, that's and that's the thing. It's usually older white cis men typically, because let's be honest, I mean, there are, not to say that there aren't women that aren't going to vote for Trump, and but there's a very substantial amount of women voters that are going to vote for Harris, and a lot of that is, not to sound misogynistic or anything, but let's be real, they're going to vote for her because she's the women's candidate. She's the quote unquote feminist.
I don't think that's the reason. I think it's Roe v. Wade.
Well, that too, yeah.
For any woman that watches this, I support a woman's right to choose. I clearly do. But I feel like Democrats purposely let Roe v. Wade get overturned because they wanted to use it as a wedge issue in the upcoming election.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I believe the people that are going to be the most responsible for Harris's victory are going to be women. Women are the key to Harris's victory. That's why Harris has been appealing more to women than any other demographic. Because, okay, I can't have to quote Mao because it's absolutely true. Women are half the sky. And Republicans are fucking dumb. They really are dumb. They cannot comprehend that if you're going to win elections, you can't just talk about dehumanize women. Even Republican women are voting for a good amount of them are voting for Harris in this election cycle. What the fuck does that even say?
Yeah.
They may, because they're tired of this shit too. And I think I think if any kind of fascism is going to take hold in America, it's not going to be Nazi style fascism, because that's too openly fascist. And not to mention, we live in a multi-ethnic society right now. And I
Yeah.
don't think Nazism would ever fly with the people. I mean, you would, okay, regardless what people want to believe, people are not going to sit by as they're being killed by the state. They'll fight back. And I think, and Democrats are smart about this. Republicans will just, okay, hypothetical, if Trump wins, everyone's all scared. I'm not scared of a Trump victory. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm more scared of a Harris victory than Trump, because Trump winning would be bad on the short term, but people would rise up against Trump. Like, you probably would see violence against people like never before in recent memory. But I do see that it would not end well for the fascists in America if Trump won. It would,
Yeah.
in the short term, it would, but in the long term, it would not, because it would make people more aware of just how this system is bullshit. You'd see people from other ethnic groups like putting their differences aside, bearing the hatchet for at least to fight against the same enemy. It would make them aware their oppressors are the same.
Yeah.
You cannot, because Hitlerite fascism is not efficient in this country because of the kind of country America is.
Yeah, and this was actually kind of, I think, one of the things that I stated in the last video, I think, that I did, where I had were, number one, when you look at kind of like a lot of the polls, like, that are going into the last couple of days, like Harris definitely has like a 3 to 4% lead in even in like, states like Iowa, she has, a lead. And yeah, I'm not really even as a trans woman, I'm not afraid of a Trump victory, because as you said, we'll get through it. We'll resist, et cetera, et cetera. It makes no difference to us because we already resist this system anyway.
People forgot about Bush Jr.
Oh,
he was one of the most fascist presidents we had in our lifetime. Yet we're still
Yeah, but yet compared to the nutballs that we have now, like, he was, but yeah, no, the Trump, like a Trump victory, I'm not really worried about. It's more, and this is a conversation I also had with my grandmother, and because she's also kind of this opinion that, Harris victory will is more what she's worried about, because of the fact that and not because she likes one candidate over the other. She couldn't care less, really. But she basically was saying that it was because of the violence and the turmoil and the polarization of the country. That's what she's worried about. And, which is fair, because long term, we know what the Trump crowd is capable of. We saw it on January 6th of 2021. And and we've been seeing them, what was it, that guy that shot at the Democratic National Committee office in Tempe. We see what these psychopaths are capable of. So it does make you wonder what's going to happen on Wednesday the 6th. What's going to happen as we get closer to Inauguration Day? That's really where the concern should be, especially in a Harris victory, specifically with a Harris victory, because the Trump crowd is going to try to use whatever angle or ploy they can to like rile up their cult.
Yeah, but I actually think this will be the death of the Trump movement.
It will.
Yeah, but here's another thing that's gonna happen, regardless who wins. Black men are gonna be blamed no matter what, because black men do not want to vote for Harris. A lot of them don't. And
Yeah, Palestinians are gonna be punished.
It isn't just Palestinians. Arabs as a whole will be blamed for
Yes,
losing or almost losing the election.
and the left is definitely going to be punished for all of this. The people that, like us, that have been trying to tell these people over and over, like, your vote doesn't actually matter. You know, you can't change the system; it changes you, et cetera, et cetera. They're going to be blaming people like that, and this is why I said in that video I put out about last week, whatever it was, that I said, once the election is over, once the electoral college has made their decision, it's one of those things where it's like, if Harris loses, I don't want to hear what the people blaming the left and blaming this and blaming that, because liberals will, and I don't want the conservatives, when Trump loses, screaming about it was, the election was rigged, there's voter fraud, there's illegal votes, or any of that shit, because we know they are. So yeah, it's just like it's gonna, no matter how it goes, somebody is going to end up blaming, an entire, a bunch of different communities. But the fact that Democrats are going to end up blaming not only, leftists, but, also marginalized communities that did not vote for her, like, that just goes to show that their absolute insanity, their racism.
Well, like, I think Harris is going to win primarily because if people compare 2016 a lot, but I think they do it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Does anyone remember how Hillary was predicted to win the 2016 election? Does anyone remember that? Yet, what happened?
Yeah.
People are doing the same thing now. Trump is highly likely going to win. I think Harris is going to win this election by the skin of her teeth. But then again, it could be more than that, because the thing is, people ignore women, which are 50% of the population. Like, a lot of women are going to vote in this election cycle more than any election cycle in American history, because the scaremonger of their rights being at stake, which it's a legitimate concern to have. I'm not going to downplay, like, these psychopaths wanting to control women, because that is a legitimate thing that they will do with Project 2025. That is a legitimate concern, and Democrats are like a domestic abuser, just basically, if you leave us, the person you go that will come in after me will be worse. So they're just like that.
Yeah. And I was just gonna say, that's pretty much, I mean, that's basically been the entire, campaign of the Harris Walls crowd, because they, it's like, well, we aren't Trump, we have to defeat Trump. Like, even Bernie fucking Sanders was even on there, was on there the other day, being like, many of you are concerned about, her opinions on Gaza, and I agree with you, but here's why we should vote. You should still vote for her, because we have to defeat Trump. And it's literally like, I listened to it just for a second, just to see if there was going to be any sort of, like, modicum of, like, just like something different, something different that he might say. And no, it's the same type of, the liberal garbage that we've come to expect. So
here's the thing. Another thing about this election cycle, we've been seeing third parties being attacked more aggressively this time than in any other.
Yeah.
Which, that is something I think that's worth discussing. The duopoly is vulnerable right now. And if you're going to vote at all, voting for either one of the third party candidates is the most optimal option right now.
Yeah.
Like the Green Party. I mean, you bring up the Green Party because it's the most popular of the third parties. Now, I'm not saying the third party is great or anything, but if you're going to vote at all, use your vote. Vote for a party that has a chance to get 5% of the vote, so it can get funding, so it can actually break the two-party duopoly. Because I feel like if it were to break, it would weaken the empire severely. I feel like that is what should be done with our vote, is voting for Jill Stein.
Yeah.
Now, okay, I may not agree on many things that Jill Stein stands for. Forget Jill Stein. It's about the long term, and that's the problem with people that are claiming they are trying to prevent fascism from coming here. It already is. If you're just too fucking racist and blind to see it. In the long run, having the Green Party be getting federal funding would help undermine the empire in the long run. Would they become just another like fucking Democrat Republican party? Maybe, maybe not. Either way, it's having another party that can compete against the Republican Democrat would actually make things more difficult for the empire to function during election cycles, and that is more valuable than voting for Kamala Harris and taking the chance of a Trump presidency. I feel like this opportunity, I don't think we're going to get for a while, if ever. It'd be like, if you want to take advantage of this moment, this is the time to vote for third party.
Yeah. And honestly, it's one of those things that, if a third party gains, I think it's like they have to gain like a 5% threshold in order to get like federal funding and stuff like that, which, they could do if enough people actually vote for it. But I agree. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, personally, like I kind of believe that any sort of vote for, in a bourgeois system is just paying, legitimacy to it. But at the same time, I'm not saying that you shouldn't vote. And, I'm just saying that, if you must vote, vote for the, candidate, the party of your choosing, that does not support genocide.
I agree with that completely, because that is the most optimal time to do so. And to this election cycle, leverage your vote. Vote fucking for Jill Stein. It's like there is no better time than now to pave the way for a third party, even if they do become the next freaking Republican or Democratic Party. Having more parties is a good thing because it actually weakens the empire's ability to function. Why do you think they don't want a third party to emerge?
Right.
People forget the Republican Party was a third party at one point in this country's history. Do people not remember that the Dixiecrats existed? And it wasn't that long ago that they existed and still existed alongside the Republicans and Democrats.
Oh yeah, I know. And I'll be honest, I did get my ballot in just a few days ago. I finally went and checked my mail, and it's one of those things where it's like, I honestly had a thought about voting for what's her name? I think it's Claudia De La Rivas or De La Silva or something like that. She's basically running, for the Party of Socialism and Liberation, and I was halfway tempted to just write some, socialist candidate, in that, but I don't know. I vote
for Jill Stein because she has the most chance of getting 5% of the vote. That's why I would push for
If I did vote, that's that's probably who I'd end up just throwing my hat for.
Now, I don't believe in electoral politics, but I'm looking at things from the long term. What would benefit like the movement, and having a third party in existence would be beneficial. And this is one thing that liberals like that refuse to who can't understand why people would vote for Jill Stein. People don't vote for Jill Stein because they know she's going to win, because that's very childish to even claim that they're voting for Jill Stein because they believe she has a chance of getting into the White House. No, people are voting for Jill Stein because they don't want to fucking vote for a genocider or reward a genocider. Like, there's this quote from, I don't remember it by heart, but I know Eugene V. Debs, who, by the way, was a third-party candidate that actually did run for president multiple times. He said, I would rather vote for something I want and not get it than vote for something I don't want and get it. That is exactly...
Yeah.
That's the situation. And Americans... whatever the fucking American is... Americans are not innocent in the slightest in this genocide. You can't escape responsibility. And voting for Harris or Trump shows the whole world you don't care about Palestinian life, that you don't see Palestinians as important as your own personal comforts.
Yeah, and and basically, I've always had a problem with Steve Shives and his views. Honestly, I didn't like. I think I've heard of you talk about him. I've heard of you talk about him before, because I think he put some bullshit out a few months ago as well. And the guy is just the same as every other like milquetoast liberal who just like who's just goes on this thing like, I know that people are angry because of the she doesn't take a harder stance on this, or that she or her stance on Gaza and stuff like that, but we have to vote for her because we have to defeat the other candidate who is basically going to just do everything she's going to do, but might be more open about it.
The gun control video, he was called out by a bunch of black people, but who basically said, "Oh, so you want to disarm? So you basically want to disarm the black community and have us be at the mercy of the police?" And he did another response to basically to try to fucking cover his own ass. I'm just gonna say this. This is not a hot take, but I'll say this. If you are pro-gun, pro-gun, anti-gun, you are anti-black. It's that simple. If you know anything about like white supremacy, like at all, the biggest supporters of gun control are white people. They're not fucking black. They're not Latinos. They're not indigenous people. It's always white people, because white people are not going to lose their guns. Everybody else will though, or will be more difficult to access gun, which will increase the fucking black market's reach, because people, if they can't get guns legally, they'll just go to the black market and get them. They're not going to stop.
Yeah, specifically, and let's also not forget within that the black and indigenous community, the people that are also like trans, queer, and et cetera, as as kind of the old saying goes, it's like a armed minority is harder to eradicate. So
but the thing is, I don't think gun control is even possible in America. Too many fucking guns. Like, okay, I know this is not really too far off as a joke, but if you were to try to take everyone's guns, you'd have a civil war.
Yeah, like I know that that's kind of something that a lot of conservative psychos often talk about, but no, in that like they do kind of have a point. Like it is like you aren't going
would not want to give up their guns. Liberal gun owners would not want to do it either.
Oh fuck no!
Give up their guns in America.
Not especially not the liberals here in Oregon, because even the liberals here in Oregon don't want to fucking give up. Don't want to fucking give up their guns, because I mean Oregon is a Democratic majority state. It has been for, I think, about 35 years. And it is, but yet it is also an open carry state. So, or carry conceal state or something like that. So it's, it's still, it's one of those things where it's like they are, pro-gay, pro-abortion, pro-women, pro-union, all that sort of stuff. But at the same time, they're like, we kind of do still want to keep our guns because, yeehaw, I guess.
Well, who claim that liberals are anti-gun and want to take away my guns. Like, no, liberals don't want to take away the liberal politicians, yes, but liberals, people that have guns, hell no.
Yeah. So
gun control, those who don't live in neighborhoods where not having a gun could be life or death. They live in a gated community, or they live in a middle class community where there isn't high in crime.
Right.
Orders of gun control.
Yeah. A perfect example is actually my ex-wife's family, who lives, up in the, more, I'm going to just say more upscale part of town. That's up, they have like this house in the hills above the town, and it just kind of looks, overlooks the entire valley below. And yeah, that entire community, it may not be gated, but it's still more, the people that live up there are more, upper middle class and, very upscale type people. So yeah, those are the types of people that vote for gun control. And I can say that for a fact because that's how my ex's family was. So yeah, no, that's a good point, and I just wanted to provide a little example about that.
I don't think anyone fucking like gun control is such a bullshit fucking even position to have in the first. Like, and if you agree with Ronald fucking Reagan about gun control, you should fucking get your head re-examined, because what did Ronald Reagan do to the Panthers in California? Like, he's the reason why we have gun control in my fucking shithole of a state.
Yeah. I agree. I left there. What now? 5-6 years ago. So it's like, yeah, no, I can confirm, like it's a lot, a lot of that, did start back with, Reagan, and we're not talking about Reagan as president. We're talking, we do want to remind people Reagan was actually a California governor at one point. So, and yeah, he just in the same way, basically his policies that he had as president, they weren't really any different than his policies as a governor. He just essentially brought those from the state level to the federal level. That's really the only thing that he did. It was same policies, same, targeted racism. So, it's like fucking crazy how like Reagan would be considered moderate today. Oh God, I know.
That's just how fascist this country has gotten since the 1980s.
Yeah, well, that's kind of the where the end game with neoliberalism ends, is that it always it always ends in fascism. Like, so
Bill Clinton was more right wing than Reagan. Obama was more right wing than Bill Clinton.
And Kamala is more right wing than Obama. So
Joe, that fucking genocide Joe.
Right. And
fuck? Do you get more right wing than that senile old fool that doesn't even know where he's at half the time?
Yeah, well, I mean, at least he isn't like at Mitch McConnell level yet, where he's. Well, actually, no, I take that back. He is, because you'll see him. You'll kind of see Joe kind of like buffering, in a very similar way that Mitch McConnell does. I have a meme somewhere of that, I think, on my phone, and it's basically the Xbox like red ring of death on Mitch McConnell's forehead. All you have to do is find a picture of Joe Biden, put the same one on him.
It's just I really don't care who wins the election. I really fucking don't, because this election cycle is stressful for me, because I just want to get it done and over with so I can move on. Because it's like, I don't care which genocider wins, because
it's still gonna. We're still gonna have a genocider, no matter who wins, and it's just like, and this was something I had brought up in that video I did. More that podcast at that point, where it was essentially saying that, where I said, I know that it was kind of stupid, but I was saying, let's take, for instance, take out the word Palestinians and put in the word, trans, and then basically say the Zionists are genociding the trans people. But so would you be okay with still voting for Kamala Harris, even though there's she supports the genocide of trans people over there, but you're more concerned about the trans people here? And I pointed out that this is exactly what I'm talking about. People don't give a shit about what's going on overseas. They're too busy worrying about what's going on here and their whole like first world privileges and all that
Americans
shit.
Can't comprehend and refuse to comprehend and still refuse to comprehend that all of these issues are interconnected. Like, and I also would I'm not saying this to be sympathetic towards Americans, because I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't think Americans want to accept that they're the bad guys and always have been. That they're in denial about that, because when you study American history, and for those people who are watching this, who are questioning everything that they believe, when you find out that America has a lot in common with the Nazis, and that Hitler learned everything from America, it really changes your fucking worldview completely. It's like, wait, what? We inspired the Nazis? What the fuck? If we inspired the Nazis, which is supposed to be one of the most evil like regimes that ever existed, what does that say about us? And I don't think Americans want to accept the fact that they're the villains, because if you think about it, there is no heroes in America. They exist in fiction. They don't exist in real life. That those who are heroes, the Aaron Burgeonels of the world, they're forgotten or slandered, or their message is sanitized decades after their death. I'm looking at Malcolm X and Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
It's like the real heroes of America are those who fought and died for social justice and were slandered and were hated in their lifetime. Like, you're not going to see a fucking documentary on fucking Aaron Burgeonel, but you'll probably might see another one or two on fucking Chris Kyle. Fucking
oh jeez. God, I haven't listened. God, I haven't heard. I haven't listened to Chris Kyle or even heard that name in quite some time. So
I'm just saying, you're not going to see a movie on Aaron Burgeonel or any
no
hero, an actual hero, because a hero is someone that is selfless and is willing to do what is right, regardless what the consequences to themselves. That's not your average American hero. The average American hero would be considered villains in the real world, and there are no heroes. But when you compare it to the heroic fighters that's in the Palestinian resistance and Hezbollah and the people in Syria and Iran, they're the real heroes, and they're not fucking famous people that everyone knows around the world. They're just regular people fighting for their home. Those are the heroes of the world, the real heroes. What we would like or think that we are, but we're not. It's like, what? How is it heroic to go to someone else's country, destroy their way of life, rape their women, and their children, destroy entire family lines? Yeah, and you're celebrated as a hero. No, that's fucking evil. They're the definition of a villain. But like, Americans are the stormtroopers of Star Wars when they go freaking in foreign countries.
Yeah. It's just, it really is. It's really one of those things where, they are, they want to say, they get, they get attacked, on 9/11, and then they basically have made that their whole personality.
I know it'll piss some people off, Americans especially. America deserved 9/11, and I'm not going to freaking take that back. We deserved 9/11. In fact, we deserved a lot worse than 9/11.
Here comes the boom.
This video might get taken down because I said, "Oh yes, America deserved 9/11." It's kind of hypocritical because you could have a bunch of Zionist fucking psychos basically saying genocidal language against Palestinians, dehumanizing them in the worst possible way, yet their video is not considered hate speech. Yet saying what I just said is hate speech, even though Americans are not a fucking race.
Oh yeah. I forgot what it was, but I don't. But yeah, I basically ended up having my posts taken down. The one that I did do on 9/11. And it was, I think all I basically said was just like happy 9/11. And then I think I posted a link to POD's Here Comes the Boom. And that's all it took. And then apparently I got taken down for it. So I'm just like, you fucking, yeah.
I had to censor myself if I want to make a 9/11 joke. It's like I need 2 planes, please. And I do mean that. I really all done. And you know what? I don't care if you think that's fucked up. I really don't care. Like when you see what I've seen for the past year in Gaza, I don't fucking give a shit.
Oh God! Well, see, and that's the thing. People that can't take a 9/11 joke are the ones that need to kind of check themselves, because because it's one of those things where it's like you very clearly have not gotten over your Americanism, because you can make all the sorts of criticisms of America you want, but if you can't take a 9/11 joke, I'm sorry, you're still hanging on to your Americanism, and it's just 9/11 jokes are funny.
It's like, oh, you'll never say it to a New Yorker.
God, yeah.
I would say it in their fucking face. It's like, fuck. It's like, I'm just gonna say this: if any New Yorker watches this by any chance, fuck you. It's like 9/11 was fucking nothing. It was so small compared to the people of Iraq, Afghanistan, and Palestine, Syria. For the past 50 years, what they've experienced was multiple 9/11s every fucking day. What you've experienced is nothing. So what the people in Gaza are experiencing, or not even just Gaza, but the West Bank and in South Lebanon, what they're experiencing every day is their own personal 9/11. What those people that, got attacked by that had their pagers blow up, that was a 9/11 for them. So it's like, so people that want to sit there and, bitch about, about 9/11, no, fuck you. It's like there's a 9/11 going on every fucking day over there.
So like people really need to like that. That's why I say people really need to look outside of their own bubble, their own centricities and everything like that, because that, and let's be honest, that's why a lot of these people are still voting for these two assholes, because they are too concerned about losing their first world comforts. And the problem is that, like, I hate to break it to you all, but you're going to lose those first world. You're going to lose certain comforts regardless of who you vote for, because it's you might, because at some point they are going to start targeting certain communities, and it doesn't matter if it's under Trump or under Harris. At some point, they are going to come for you. For instance, people want to talk about how hard it is to organize under Trump. How about we look back at those the college kids that were just protesting a genocide and had live snipers pointed at their heads this year? Like, that doesn't make that hard to organize. That's not supposed to be intimidation, so.
I got a video I'm going to share, though. People probably have already seen it, but I think this speaks like volumes of, like, because it kind of basically speaks what we say better. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you've seen it, but I think it's a great video. I mean, I don't, like, when Democrats come for you, it's like, hold on, I'm just going to make sure that I have all this. All right.
Biden. Let's measure it. What do you mean relative to what happened to the Palestinians? Tell me, what is so terrifying that you are willing to forgive the genocide in Gaza? Tell me what scares you so much that you are willing to step over Sidra's lifeless corpse with the legs blown off and say, excuse me, sorry. That you will step over Hind Rajab's cold corpse that was shot at 360 times by the Israelis while she sat in the car waiting for an ambulance that was brought by Israeli tank. That you step over Hind Rajab's body, sorry, Hind. That you would step over Reem's body. Tell me what's so terrifying. You step over Reem. Arruh, spirit of my spirit. That you step over the child. You can't identify this child. The head's blown off. You step over them. You step over those 240,000 corpses to get to that ballot box. You step over all of them. You walk by the Palestinian refugees walking by. Where are you going? I'm going to the ballot box. Voting for who? You're too ashamed of to say it at that time. You walk to the ballot box. You walk over those bodies, piles and piles of those bodies, drenched in the blood. You see those kids in those images of the hospitals, crushed by the rubble. Their arms are hanging, blood dripping for no other crime. Then some random people from the West said,
the land of Israel has been the homeland of the Jewish people. It's always been our home. It will always be our home.
This land belongs to us. You will walk all over those corpses. Go to the ballot box. Vote for the one who did it to them, Jalal. Vote for the one who slaughtered them. Vote for the one who massacred them. Vote for the one who continued to lend every impunity to them. Vote for the one who wrote the whole international order to slaughter those children, to slaughter our brothers and sisters, to commit the most brutal genocide. You will cross all of those corpses to the ballot box. You will put a cross next to the name of Harris, the one who committed the genocide with Biden.
Let me be very clear. I'm unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not going to change.
And you will yell to those spirits and say, I did it for you. You will look at them in the eye and say, I voted this for you. You will say that I voted for the one who killed you. I voted for the one who gave the bombs to slaughter you. More bombs than Dresden. More bombs than Hiroshima. More bombs than Nagasaki. More bombs than World War II. I voted for the one who gave unfettered access to all those weapons. I voted for the one who sent the Marines to help kill you. And you would dare to look me in the eye and say you did it for Palestine. You did it for them. The nerve, the sheer arrogance of it. It's not for Palestine. It's for your comfort. It's for your status quo. It's for the luxury that you live. Trump is not going to blow up your limbs. You're not going to have a limb amputated in the next 4 years because there's no anesthesia. You survived 4 years of Trump. You can survive again. 240,000 Palestinians did not survive 4 years of Biden. You survived Trump. You survived it. You didn't have your home taken from you. It wasn't handed to Ben Shapiro. It wasn't given to Ben Walsh. The National Guard didn't ethnically cleanse California of Muslims. They didn't go to the East Coast where it's colder. None of that happened to you in the 4 years. None of that will happen to you in the next 4 years. What are you so scared of? That you will go to the ballot box and say, I'm voting for the genociders. Why would you rescue Zionism? Why would you rescue Zionism when it's buckling? Why would you restore their invincibility when it's breaking? Why would you go to the ballot box and say, Zionism, let me prove to the world that even if they support a genocide, they can still win because no one betrays Zionism? Why would you have the chance to break the two-party system? You go and rescue Zionism. Why would you have the chance to finally let people lose because they supported Zionism? Why would you go and help Zionism prove that 99 races run, 99 races won? Let there be justice in the world. You will not struggle like the Palestinians. You will not suffer anything like them. Yes, indeed, if you don't citizenship issues with America, come to London. London is nice once you get used to the weather. But do not say you're doing it for Palestine. Don't say you're doing it for Palestine. Be honest and say you're doing it for yourself. Because you don't want to be a people of struggle. Because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the reason he was so successful was because he continued to persevere through the struggle. He was offered the dunya, he said, I will not give up justice. He was offered the comforts, he said, I will not give up justice. But we're telling our kids that you are not successful until you have the home and the Tesla.
That is absolute true. If you can't accept that, get fucked. And yeah, and so what if this person is Muslim who said this? Who cares? It's fucking true. We're not gonna. 4 years of Trump is nothing compared to what the Palestinians have gone through under fucking Genocide Joe and Kamala Kast.
Yeah, and the people that, that do just disregard this because, it was, because it was said by a Muslim, like, first of all, again, you need to check yourself because at that point that, that says a lot about you as a person, your Islamophobia, your Arab phobia. Like that says a lot, about that. If you, can look at that and not, feel sympathy for the Gazan people, not, feel that some sort, not feel anger towards the genocide that's going on and still for some reason believe that you should vote for one fascist over the other. Like, no, it's like, it doesn't matter. Both of them are for genocide. And, as I basically said in my trans comparison that I was using, a genocide is a genocide. It doesn't matter where it's taking place. And to the people that actually think that, somehow that Harris is going to go, lighter on gay people, lighter on trans people, lighter on, whatever. No, she's not. What the fuck has the Biden administration done to help marginalized communities? They haven't. In fact, it's only gotten worse for marginalized community. It's only gotten worse for Black people. It's only gotten worse for Indigenous people. It's only gotten worse for the LGBT community. Trans people, have been suffering the last several years under Trump and Biden as states continue to, put bans on healthcare and drag bans, which really are nothing more than anti-trans bans. Those have been going on under the Biden administration, and they're doing nothing to stop it.
Yeah, the black wings have existed for centuries. It's a tradition that's almost as old as civilization itself.
Exactly. And it's one of those things where it's like, if they actually gave a fuck at all, they would, I believe until 2022, they had nominal control of both houses, essentially. And they could have passed, if they wanted to, they could have passed bills that would have protected trans healthcare, protected trans youth, protected trans people in general, but they didn't because they don't want to. They don't care. We are, they're not going to protect the LGBT community. They're not going to protect Black people or Indigenous people because they don't care. It's
the thing I find the most insulting to our intelligence is them talking about we need to stop the rise of fascism. We need to stop fascism. It's like,
then don't vote for either one of them.
One thing I will say this: nobody understands what it's like to live under fascist violence better than Black people and Indigenous people. No, and undocumented immigrants. Nobody knows how to survive a fascist system better than they do, because they've been living under fascism in one way or another since this country has been founded. It's white people refusing to see that fascism's always been here, and I feel like it kind of reveals something deeply wrong with white people. And I'm saying that I could say this because I'm fucking white, so fuck you, like whitey who comes in this like video and like gets triggered because I bring this up. Like any white liberal that gets all triggered because what I'm about to say. White people don't consider something that fascism unless it starts to affect them personally. That's why Trump is considered a fascist by these people, even though every president is a fascist in one way or another. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter if they're D or they're R. Every president has been a fascist in one way or another. And I feel like when you bring this up to black people, and now I know there's a black person who's watching me, Brytunes, he could say this for certainty. It's like they don't take this. They're not hysterical about the fascism in America because they already know they're living under fascism, especially those who've studied the Panthers. Like, if anything, they understand fascism better than anyone because they've been living under the brunt of it for generations. White people don't understand what fascism is. You could study it dialectically, you may study it in books, but they don't understand what it's like to actually live under fascism, because what we live under, okay, I'm not saying we don't live under fascism because that'd be ridiculous, but we don't understand it personally because we're not constantly being policed by the police. We're not being looked at with suspicion by the police. We don't have to worry about guns being drawn on us just for us being white. Like, this is a conversation. I just think the reason why white liberals hate Trump so much is because when they look at Trump, they see themselves in the mirror, and they don't feel comfortable with that. They don't want to accept the fact that they're not much different from Trump.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny. The only thing I really can say to that is if anything, it's like that meme of the hard to swallow pills. That's basically that's it's like that's basically what white liberals need. They need a heavy dose of hard to swallow pills, and you know, quite frankly, if they're not willing to accept the fact that accept the fact of their own privileges, accept the fact of their own, whether it's just blunt or internalized, their racism, their homophobia, transphobia, etc. It doesn't matter. Like Can
I say this because no offense, Nicole, but I don't hear from a lot of people of your community talk about like about black violence that much against black people,
and
especially.
And that's kind of something that I'm also kind of that's going to be part of my video that I'm one of the videos that I'm releasing. I think it's the one I'm releasing tomorrow. But basically, I went on this thing about how, and this is an actual fact, I actually looked into it, that the trans community obviously makes up about 2 to 3% of the population, and of that 2 to 3%, about 56%, so almost 3/5 of the trans population is white. And so it's not really, so looking at that, it's not really a surprise that a lot of trans people, in this case, a lot of trans white liberals, typically are showing themselves for who they truly are. And that's that, they don't care about, the black community. They don't care about the indigenous community. They don't care about the, Palestinian community. And it really shows. It really fucking shows with that, for example, the video that the 1 hour plus video that I had put out last week, where I was arguing with somebody in a trans subreddit because of the fact that, these people just cannot get it through their heads because, quite frankly, they don't want to. They don't want to accept it.
Well,
and
here's another thing about this trans band and this transphobia, and I don't hear enough from this community, is how it affects Black women, because Black women, and of course we've seen glimpses of this during Obama's administration with Michelle Obama, how she was trans investigated. Like, Black women are more often than not are transvestigated. They're not considered feminine enough, or they're considered hidden men, and the violence against women is going to get worse, regardless who wins. But Black women will also suffer the blunt of this, because I don't think any group suffers. Correct me if I'm wrong, for anyone who's the comments, nearly as much misogyny as Black women, because they get the worst of it.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking from white men. I can't speak for the people in the other communities, because that's none of my business to talk about. I can only speak about where I'm from. Like, they suffer the worst.
Oh yeah. One of my dearest friends from back home in the Bay Area is she's a Black woman, and she's always been, a really thick, curvy gal. And, she's constantly made the brunt of jokes, both racist, sexist, misogynistic jokes. And as far as I can, she's also been, sexualized throughout her life. And, the thing and now, to my knowledge, I don't know if anybody's ever tried to transvestigate her, because that's something only she would be able to speak to. But yeah, I think that there has been a lot of high profile Black women that have been transvestigated. I think, I'm not sure not, but I think, for instance, Lizzo at one point was, I think she was actually transvestigated. But yeah, there's many examples, like Michelle Obama, as you mentioned, and because unfortunately, Black women have been, they don't fit a certain type of beauty standard, essentially, that, let's be real here, is the product of white misogyny and white supremacy.
Well, another thing, if we look at movies, I'll use movies and entertainment as a whole as an example. Black women, of course, I say I could speak from experience because I've watched a lot of movies and TV shows. The ones that are portrayed as beautiful and attractive are usually as light as possible while still being Black. It's usually white women that are usually considered beautiful, and they're usually the stereotypical what you would expect from a woman, like the skinny type, which is unrealistic for most women to meet. And there's two stereotypes that I see from Black women. They're either usually really fat and obnoxious, and like that Ghostbusters 2016 movie.
Oh yeah,
fucking talk about, or they're angry and overly emotional.
Yeah,
that's the stereotype you see of Black women, and of course, men is not much better. They're usually stupid or extremely violent. It's like, this racism is littered in our society, and it's even post civil rights era, it has not gone away. If you just look at the cliches in horror movies,
yeah,
Black characters are usually the first people to die.
Oh yeah. Well, that's one of the things that whenever I'm watching a movie and I see that old cliche, I'm just kind of like, I'm like, okay, really? That's the direction we're going? Okay.
There's a title of a movie called "We Can't All Be the First to Die," which was a horror movie with an all-black cast, which was probably cliche.
But yeah, the one thing I will say though is that black women are often just like they're essentially cannon fodder for a lot for racism and for misogyny and the one thing that's just talking about cis women. Like I can't obviously speak for every trans black woman's or even trans indigenous woman's experience, but it's one of those things where it's like they also suffer quite a bit. In fact, it's one thing that if cis black women are stereotyped a certain way or are transvestigated or expected to be a certain way or whatever, then think about how bad that trans black women have it. And it's just
I can't speak for in depth about this, but one thing I have noticed about the LGBT community and the black community, they're black first before anything else.
Yeah.
And if you just compare them, and like Black Redguard's a good example of this. He's gay, but you wouldn't know that unless you've like investigated, like because they don't have the luxury of just saying that because their biggest concern, and rightfully so, is the liberation of their own people. Like any other contradictions is considered secondary. And now I can't speak for these people. I'm just speaking from as an outsider that it is vastly different because just compare the white LGBT community. They care more about their own issues than they do about other issues. They're almost fixated on this issue, and that's why they're not really liked by other LGBTQ communities and other ethnic groups. Like they're not like because I kind of feels like whiteness is such a huge problem in our society that they use LGBTQ. Now, I hope this doesn't come off as being homophobic or transphobic. So check me if I come off as this way. It feels like they use that as a replacement for their identity because they have nothing else to go on because their white identity is non-existent. And that's the only thing they have.
It's kind of one of those things where it's like that video that Jason posted a couple of weeks ago, where it's like if not white, what am I? And it's one of those things where it's like they have the right idea of trying to, not really, but to some degree, maybe some of them. They have the right idea of, being like, hey, I don't identify as white, but then they identify as, they start identifying as, this thing. And they basically make it, again, not as a queer trans woman, not to come off as like queer or as homophobic or transphobic, but they do. They kind of use it as as a replacement for their identity, as you said. And it basically becomes kind of like their whole personality. And that's not the way to go. Like, it's fine if you want to be proud to be gay, proud to be trans, etc. God knows I am. But it's one of those things where it's like, I also know that, I am a white woman and that and because I am a white woman, that comes with privilege. And I'm only saying that for simplification's sake. As part of my actual identity, I can't really say, I don't really consider myself white. I don't consider myself American, because to consider oneself American is to essentially be, it falls under that whole same thing of whiteness. You have to move beyond that. You have to, and that's something that for years that I struggled with and had to come to terms with. And, and that's why it's kind of like, well, if I'm not white, what am I? And I actually have a video coming out about that this week, where I essentially, how I boil it down, my handle, Red Pagan, that is what best represents me, and identity and personality is the fact that I am a communist, and yes, who just so happens to have, that does happen to, have pagan belief practices in her private life. But I, first and foremost, I'm committed to liberation. I'm committed to, essentially what could even be described as, post-white, the idea of moving beyond this, the concept, because let's be real here. There is no such thing as a white race. There's multiple different types of people. There's Irish, there's German, etc. But there is not a specific white race. And the idea of whiteness is essentially based in white supremacy. So
I think that's the reason why white people in America I feel like the reason why we're having this rising fascism in America, or open fascism, is white people don't have an identity, and they know it. They have nothing. They literally have nothing. Their history is littered with nothing but the destruction of other human beings. You could look at their art and literature. Who made a lot of the stuff that white Americans tend to enjoy? It was invented by other groups, mainly the black community. Like everything good that we, all the good music that we love, was invented by black people. It wasn't invented by not to mention the kind of history and the kind of communities white people have is so freaking. There is no community with white people. Like if you look at the black community and compare the black community to the white community, there's more solidarity with the black community, even amongst even reactionaries. There's still solidarity. Like they're not as, what is that word? Individualist like the white community is. And that's the problem. I think that's why white people are afraid of Trump, and why black people are not afraid of Trump. Why would they be afraid of Trump? Trump is, to them, is like, oh, he's another Klan's president. Oh, that's nothing new. Like we've done this before.
Emphasis on the Klan.
It's like, how many presidents have we had that were part of the Klan at one point? So yeah, it's like, this is nothing new. Like, I'm just gonna say this: white people are fucking stupid. They really are. They wouldn't know how to navigate or survive a fascist America. But those who've been suffering under the brunt of fascism for generations, it's like you people are fucking stupid. It's like we'll be fine, but you're fucked.
Well, let me also touch on that thing that you just said about they literally couldn't survive. Like, yeah, they literally couldn't have, because who was it that even helped them survive in the New World? The Native Americans, the indigenous people, like those, without them, they wouldn't have been able to survive at Plymouth. They wouldn't, to be quite honest, that's probably why they disappeared from Roanoke, because of the fact that, well, let's be real, they were stupid and they didn't know how to survive in this new environment. And yeah, and they were also hostile towards the natives, and so the natives were thus hostile back towards them. So yeah, so it's not like they were going to be getting any help from those indigenous people. And then when they did essentially get help from Native Americans in Plymouth, what happens? They turn around and they kill them and they steal their fucking land. So
Like these communities have long memories. It's like when they see any of these presidential candidates, they don't distinguish between them. They just see them as another face of their oppressors. And that to get this back, it's like a Harris victory or a Trump victory doesn't really matter. But I guess I could, like, a Trump victory isn't going to fucking be the end of the world. And people are probably gonna, who are fucking Harris supporters, are probably gonna give me shit. It's like, you're downplaying the dangers of Project 25 and Agenda 47.
Yeah.
You're telling me that shit is not being done fucking right now as we fucking record this podcast? Are you fucking telling me that it isn't already here in one way or another and hasn't already been here? It's like white people, as usual, are like decades behind everyone else. It's like, I think there's this one YouTuber that did a video about this very subject. Project 25, Project 25 is not dangerous. The lack of resistance is.
Yeah. Well, and let's also point out too the fact that, you know, people that are screaming about 2025 obviously are completely forgetful, or just don't really don't really care about facts because Project 2025, everything that's basically outlined in there has been either already policy of the United States or has slowly become policy over the course of 40, 50 years, basically. Not even that, probably technically speaking, since America's founding. So it's like the whole idea that, the Project 2025 is the spooky boogeyman. It's kind of like, yeah, it is, but it's been going on, it's been going on way longer than you think it has. It's not just some new thing that just popped out of the blue. It's just, it just happens to be that, Republicans were stupid enough to actually, essentially propagandize it.
Personally, I don't think everything from Project 2025 would be implemented anyway, because that would cause a massive backlash in the American
public.
Oh,
yeah.
It's like, okay, these people are evil. They are, but they're not fucking stupid. Well, maybe Trump and the Heritage Foundation may be stupid by revealing openly their evil plan. Maybe they are, but still, like, even if they were going to do that, they wouldn't do everything all at once. It's like boiling the frog. You don't do it. If you do it all at once, the frog will notice they're being boiled alive and they'll get out. But they're not going to do that. That's not how fucking things work. Like, the Democrats and the Republicans both want Project 2025, but
one's just more open about it.
I think the Democrats are going to win this election primarily because I fucking think, and I do mean this, I really do think that this is just another scare tactic for people to fight amongst themselves and not pay attention to stuff that's really happening, what they're really doing, the laws that are actually passing. Everyone's so concerned about Project 2025, they're not paying attention to everything else that's happening in their own fucking country or around the globe.
So, because since this has kind of been like the big part of the big elephant in the room regarding the election, the genocide in Gaza, let's also not forget about where it's also being carried out, as something just came across my desk. Israel says that it has carried out a ground raid into Syria, seizing a Syrian citizen connected to Iran. The raid comes as Israel has waged an escalated campaign of bombardment in Lebanon for the past 2 weeks. The Israeli military said that it carried out the ground raid, seizing a Syrian citizen involved in Iranian networks. It was the first time in the current war that Israel has announced sending troops into Syria. So, yeah, basically, I'm going to send this link to you, Jordan.
It's like, why the fuck would Israel announce what they're fucking doing? That's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like it's like, okay, I'm just gonna say this. Whoever fucking does PR for Israel is a moron. It's like, why would you? Okay, mind you, I don't mind if the enemy fucking destroys themselves, but why would you advertise what you're doing openly? It's like Israelis can't fucking help themselves, can they?
But yeah, that's basically what I just saw that came across there. Yeah, they've carried out airstrikes in Syria multiple times over the past years, claiming to be targeting members of Hezbollah and officials from Iran, but has not previously been made public about any ground forays into Syria. So yeah, they've admitted to that they've essentially now invaded Syria, and this was what I was talking about not more than just a few weeks ago, where I was saying that don't get it twisted. It's not going to just end with Palestine. It's that their invasion into Lebanon is part of a bigger thing. They're going to eventually invade Syria, which they have now. They are going to eventually invade Jordan. They will invade. They will probably even. I doubt they'll invade Saudi Arabia, because that at that point would be suicide.
I think Israel is stupid enough to do it. I wouldn't.
Oh yeah.
Ask them at this point, because they think that because they're being enabled by Biden and Harris or Trump, whoever wins, that they can get away with anything. But they're gonna fuck around and find out. Like, there will come into a point that Israel will be abandoned by its allies when it starts more like. Because there's just no way you can win that many wars on multiple fronts. You just can't.
Yeah, and
they can't even beat Hamas. What the hell makes them think they can beat Hezbollah and all these other groups?
Well, more specifically, they haven't been able to defeat Hamas for how when was Hamas exactly founded? I think it was late 90s. So it was one of those things where it's like they haven't defeated them in almost 30 years. They haven't defeated Hezbollah in quite some time. So yeah, but more to the point, what I was getting at was that what they're committing now is not just a final solution of sorts in Palestine, but now they're invading Lebanon, Syria, and most likely in the future, probably Jordan as well. This is tantamount to German Lebensraum. This is, and quite frankly, that's what this should be considered. This should be considered a Zionist Lebensraum, because they are trying to, they're trying to expand into other territories in the region, and they don't get it twisted. The shit that's going on in Gaza, in the West Bank, in South Lebanon, that's going to be committed in Syria. That's going to be committed. Well, it already has basically in Syria, and it will be committed in other countries that they choose to invade until they are stopped. So,
well,
I mean,
I think Israel will be stopped, but the question is, how many people will they kill before they are stopped?
Well, think about it from a historical perspective. I mean, the Holocaust was already going on before the Allies came, declared war on Germany, and it was like they knew what was going on. They knew what was going on, but they didn't act. And people, always want to, especially in America, we want to have this whole idea that, this was about liberating the Jewish people. No, it wasn't. They didn't give a shit about the Jewish people. The only reason they went to war against Germany was because Germany started encroaching upon countries that they had interests in. That was the reason for them, them liberating Europe.
They saw Israel. Sorry, I keep confusing Israel and Germany, but they're all big. But they saw the Nazis as competition, and there's nothing America hates than a competitor.
Yeah,
they knew the British Empire was weakening, and they saw their opportunity to be the next head on it. hegemon, and they did not want Germany to be the victor in that change.
So yeah, it's just like, and hell, actually, there for a while there was a time where they were literally bombing the shit out of England because they and had plans to actually invade and essentially take them out of the war by force and establish their own puppet regime there. So now the thing is that realistically that was never going to be successful, but still the fact that they had plans drawn up about not only the invasion but how they would go about occupying the UK and essentially essentially forcing them into submission by the butt end of a gun. So
Well, Israel just hasn't learned from history. It's like the Nazis were defeated because they were at war at too many fronts. Like America lost Vietnam as well. It's like it never ends well when you start wars with freaking on so many fronts that you cannot really keep any of your battle lines like properly defended because you're spread too thin. And what are you going to do? They're going to have to force their own citizens to fight. Even like Americans would have to get involved. And will Americans who already hate Israel want to fucking die for Israel? No. So that will cause more domestic problems in America. You'll see more people. In fact, this is the scariest thing about the anti-Israel sentiment is you will see more anti-Semitism arising. Like, I'm not going to die for the... Okay, excuse any of my Jewish friends who hear this, but I'm just stating what your average anti-Semite would say. I'm not dying for the Jew or their wars. I'm just saying you will see that become more popular as Israel continues its onslaught. You will see Americans who will refuse to fight for Israel because we're not fighting for America. We're fighting for I'm not going to fight for Israel. Israel's not my country. I'm not fighting for the Jewish country. I'm just going to say you're going to see that become more and more popular. And that's the danger of the rise of anti-Semitism being open again. Israel will be used as an excuse to be openly anti-Semitic. And that's the danger of Israel to the Jewish people is that America will not be blamed for what Israel does. The Jewish people will. And the anti-Semites that exist in this country will call what Israel's war is the Jews' war. And don't think they wouldn't do it. Don't think for a second that they wouldn't do it. The reactionaries in this country wouldn't take advantage of this opportunity to blame the Jews for what's happening, or let's say American troops were to die, they'd blame the Jew. That's just the natural thing that fascists do. They blame marginalized groups, and Jews are a marginalized group, even though it may not seem that way to a lot of people. They are, and
it's something that does get sometimes a bit skewed and twisted amongst certain individuals that claim to be pro-Palestine, but then actually are only doing that because they're self-serving their own reactionary interests.
So I'm just saying that America will have no choice but to abandon Israel when you see enough of the American population turn against Israel. Of course, I'm pretty sure they do have a contingency for that. They'll blame the Jews. I'm pretty sure that is one of their the government's contingencies. If Israel were to fall, they would blame the Jews and not America.
That's kind of always been the end result with a lot of things is that it's always when in doubt blame the Jewish community, and it's
And mind you, I think even though it may make no sense to us, I think they're supporting Israel, the establishment, because for this very reason. I know it may sound ridiculous that they want. Now, you could shoot down this theory, anyone who was watching this, but imagine you're trying to get to kill class consciousness. What better way than chauvinism and white supremacy? So what if they're letting this thing go on in Israel as long as possible, and let's say they do send boots on the ground, American troops, as a way to turn the people away from class struggle? And Israel's perfect for that. Not to mention with the rising of right-wing nationalism, what better way to help with that rise than anti-Jewish sentiment? Which, because they already make it so being Israeli and being Jew are basically like the same thing. They're trying to make it seem that way.
Yeah.
Of course, they don't need to be told this because they know this better than anyone. That it's becoming very dangerous to be Jewish in this country.
Yeah. I do have to say, though, the one thing that also does on the other side of things, I think that that it's going to become more and more harder to really keep this quiet, keep this hidden from people, because the longer this conflict goes on, the longer the genocide continues, we're going to see more and more, Aaron Bushnells that are going to, come out of the woodwork. And I mean, we've already had three or four people that we know of, at least, that have essentially self-immolated this year, to protest the ongoing genocide. And to be entirely realistic, that's not, it's not going to stop. More people are going to.
What's going to happen if it's a Jewish person? The next person we know about is a Jew.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it's not. And, and that's when that honestly is when it's going to end up being really hard for them to, to keep that hidden, because they probably will. They'll try their best to do that, but that only will go to prove the anti-Semitism of the media, of the American, propaganda machine, and of, well, frankly, the Zionist propaganda machine. So it's one of those things where, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if it happens. I'm just there's just a part of me that really that's concerned that they are going to try to cover that up like everything else, but I don't think they're going to be very successful at it.
The propaganda machine is not as powerful as it once was.
Yeah,
and they could try to pass laws to make it easier for social media companies to control the media, but it's difficult. How many videos are there on YouTube alone? How many videos?
God, yeah, probably. There probably isn't a number high enough that I know of. But
and TikTok and Facebook and whatever and X, how many videos are there? It doesn't matter how sophisticated the machine is. You cannot. Something's gonna slip through the cracks. You cannot block it all. We're not in that era anymore. Something will eventually get out, and it will spread like wildfire. And
let's not forget. I mean, there are things like the dark web, and and people, So even if it even if they were to scrub it completely from, from the clean internet, let's just put it that way, that we have. That doesn't, it doesn't just go away. Once you post something, it's out there forever. Even when YouTube deletes it or TikTok deletes it, it's still out there. It still exists. It's still data floating around there. And at some point, somebody, either some hacker or somebody that's, familiar with traversing the dark web, they will eventually, find those, and they will and it will become public once again. I mean, look at
We'll have I wouldn't be surprised if we have the equivalent of WikiLeaks. That
oh yeah,
specifically for that. I'm just saying that China was smart when it comes to suppressing the internet because they did it. They did it during its infancy.
yeah,
As usual with the incompetence of the Western empires, they looked at things from a short-term perspective and didn't think about the consequences. You know, having free information on the internet may not be the best idea if you're trying to govern people.
yeah. But
The ideology of neoliberal capitalism has worked against the empire in this modern age. Who trusts the mainstream media besides a bunch of boomers?
right,
Nobody. It's like anyone that says, "Oh, I trust the media," bullshit. Most people in any story that they've learned anything of substance, they didn't get it from fucking like CNN or Fox News or MSNBC. They got or the Hill. They got it from freaking independent freaking journalists. They didn't get it from any of these people.
yeah. Most of whom exist on YouTube and TikTok and stuff like that. Like that, like as much as TikTok has its problems and whatnot, it has definitely been one of those tools that we've learned that has exposed like quite a lot of stuff from independent journalists and just regular ordinary people, and so it's helped to expose like an entire different world that we normally wouldn't get from our Western media. And the thing that kind of another point I'd like to make about the about it doesn't, that no matter how much they try to cover it up, it'll always come about. How do people think things like lost media have become unlost over time? It's because somebody was passionate enough or hyperfixated enough to go looking for it and found it.
I'll just use a few examples of this. Like, for those who are Dragon Ball fans would know what I'm talking about. Like, there was an entire dub of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z and GT. No, don't think of the Funimation dub. Like, there's a different dub that they had in Canada and in the UK for Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball GT that was lost. But because of passionate fans, they managed to actually bring up most of those episodes for those who have never seen that version, the Blue Ocean dub, to watch. And there's an entire dub of Dragon Ball GT that was actually saved by one guy because he had the entire show on a DVD, ripped on a few DVDs. That's just one example. Or movies that have never gotten released on DVD at all. Like, those movies were uploaded later. Or the infamous Star Wars special that we like to make fun of from time to time. Believe it or not, that could have been lost had someone not preserved that.
So yeah, like, it's one of those things where it's like, it does, like, just like with lost media, things that are suppressed by governments, by even state, essentially state or corporate run media, which, let's be honest, are practically the same thing at this point. It's it doesn't matter what they, if somebody deletes it or not, that media will be found and it will be exposed. Like, it might take years for that to happen, but eventually it will come. At some point somebody will be passionate enough or hyperfixated enough to to go looking for it. And believe me, we live in a world that is of very skilled people who know how to obtain that, and who know the places to upload it and how to get it essentially make it go viral, because that's kind of like what they do. And we do, this isn't the pioneer age of the internet anymore. This isn't 1995, 1998. We're living in a very digital world, and as much as governments and media outlets try to silence that, it's never going to fully. It still exists in some corner of the internet somewhere. So, and it just really makes me think of the videos and just these images that we get from what's going on in Gaza and the news that we're getting from Lebanon and now Syria. Like, that's just what is being made to the public. There's an entire section of the internet where the scale of war crimes and brutality that has been committed is that we just don't know about, and at some point somebody's going to expose that. It's just a matter of time.
Israelis are probably the best. They present the best evidence when it comes to genocide, because they fucking. It's like you have a bunch of idiots like advertising, celebrating gleefully as they steal stuff from Palestinians, or killing Palestinians, or celebrating like the death of Palestinians. Like, these people will not be able to live a normal life in the future when this whole shit is over.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will eventually have their own version of the Nuremberg trials at some point.
But the question is, you can't put an entire population in prison. That's just not realistic. And I hate to say that. I hate Israelis. But you couldn't put an entire population in prison. That would not be a good look.
That's true. That's true. And look, fuck. That's kind of the lesson that they kind of learned going after World War II with the Germans. Like, what do you do with an entire population of people that are essentially, whether they participated directly or not, were still complicit in this mass genocide of people. And, and yeah.
Israelis just becoming like the Miami Cubans. They'll go into one section of like the United States or whatever country and just like bitch every few years about them losing their country, but nobody will take them seriously. Like, who the fuck takes the Miami Cubans seriously?
No, nobody really. Although they do have, from what I understand, they have really good food. But that's the only positive, really.
I don't care. I don't want nothing to do with a community of fascists, personally.
Yeah.
Well, I just feel like that's where Israelis are going to go. They're going to be in a place like Miami, where they'll concentrate themselves and complain that they lost their country.
Watch, they'll probably all wind up in Florida, just like the Cubans did, and it's just so. Like, at this point, I just kind of think, you know what? Why don't we just put all the fucking fascists in Florida and just Bugs Bunny it from off of the United States? Just cut it off, make it an island, and just and then blockade it.
Pissed off by an employee one time when he talked about the people in these ex-socialist countries, that they suffered. It's like, why should I fucking care about descendants of plantation owners? Why do I care? Like, not to mention, when you talk to a Miami Cuban, they're some of the most racist people you'll ever fucking meet. In fact, they're more racist than even your average, like, typical white person. Like, during the civil rights movement, Miami Cubans were arguing why you shouldn't let black people have civil rights when they were using like the the Afro-Cubans as an example.
They were also not even were, they still are ardently homophobic and transphobic too. Meanwhile, like what's going on in Cuba itself right now, they I think it was Castro's daughter that was like one of the leading proponents of LGBT rights in the country. So it's like, it's like, it kind of is one of those things that maybe Castroism isn't so bad. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not going to sit here and, I'm not going to jerk off, Castroism and stuff, because it like anything else does have its flaws, but it also has its many points. And it's like, and
considering that Castro and his government did a lot of good things for the Cuban people. Yeah, he did some stuff that I would consider questionable. I think he's done a lot more good for the people of Cuba.
Yeah.
And I feel like he deserves respect for that, at least.
Even at the end of his life, he even admitted to that there's certain things that he would have gone back and he would have done differently, and that's, and that honestly is that shows a man who has more integrity than a lot of these people that are out here masquerading as socialists, because at least he's one of those people that can, even on his deathbed was still able to look back and self-criticize himself and realize, what, those things that I did, here, there, and there, like, probably could have done that differently. And it's just, and I'm sure that his brother probably had the same thing. But yeah, it's just like,
they can't seem to understand that these people are human beings at the end of the day.
Exactly. Like we just see them as, these world leaders, or, a bunch of the reactionary filth in America who, just see them as dictators. It's one of those things where it's just like, no, these people are human beings, and they actually cared about their people, and they wanted a better country for their people, a better society for their people.
I got a question. If Castro was a dictator, what does that make every U.S. president? I'm serious.
No,
a dictator, or Ho Chi Minh was a dictator, or Stalin was a dictator, or Mao was a dictator. What the hell does that make every U.S. president?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a genocider for one, but yes, a dictator. And I mean, and let's be real here. I mean, at the end of the day, that is kind of what the president of the United States is at the end of the day, is basically, a dictator that is indirectly elected. I prefer to say selected, or, decided on by a group of electors who, and the only reason why we still have an electoral college was because the way that it was written by the founding fathers, i.e. George Washington, John Adams, people that, most of them who became presidents themselves later on, who did not believe that the American people were smart enough or capable enough, and frankly did not trust them enough to directly elect their president. And to be fair, Americans are pretty stupid, but at the same time, that the fact that they created a system in which essentially that was really, when you think about it, no different than what the Holy Roman Empire did, how it ran its elections for the monarchy, because that's essentially what they did. They elected a monarch through a group of electors. That's what the United States does for president. It elects a leader from a group of electors who, by the way, don't technically have to vote the way that the majority of the state voted. In fact, the whole faithless electors thing is that's what that basically is. Now, granted, most do that, but also that's because they're kind of forced to do that in a certain way because there are quite a few states that have laws that impose heavy fines or even criminal charges if they don't vote the way that the people vote, which, is, in and of itself, that's kind of intimidating. Like, okay, I guess that fixes part of the problem, but also fixes it through force. Like it's really complicated, but at the end of the day, the point that needs to be made is it's not democratic. We don't actually elect a president, so it's one of those things where all these people screaming about how oh, we need to vote for Kamala Cost, or we need to vote for Trumpicana. It's one of those things where it's just like you're not actually voting for them, though. So
we're calling there is a form of racism and a form of chauvinism toward calling every non-Western leader a dictator. Think about it. They're all they're all non-white.
Yeah.
For marginalized communities. Don't you find it a little strange that the marginalized people of marginalized communities are always considered dictators, but never white people?
Yep. Well, I mean, even look at I think it's funny because somebody brought up, how the United States props up dictators in other countries and stuff like that. But the ones that they prop up are the ones they don't refer to as dictators, and are always typically the ones that are, more white passing than other leaders. For instance, Pinochet. They propped that fascist asshole up. Getting rid of it and getting rid of him, putting him into power by getting rid of a democratically elected socialist president. And they were too far. They were, they were concerned about, Chile basically, swinging to the left and, potentially, siding with the Soviet Union. So they were like, nope, we can't have this. So they murdered him, and they put in Pinochet, a guy that
a libertarian for a very fast. Just ask them their opinion about Pinochet. How fast you'll hear their pro-fascist sympathies. Like,
oh yeah,
I think another because I'm just gonna say this: NCAPs are some of the dumbest people on the fucking planet. It's like they reveal how fascist they are. Despite it's like their memes are all the same. They have a picture of Pinochet. They make a helicopter meme. It's like, wow, thank you for advertising that you're a fascist.
Right. Well, look also too at just in recent history about how of the people that they've been quick to support that are white passing fascist assholes like Jair Bolsonaro when he was still president of Brazil, and Javier Milei who's currently president of Argentina and has just absolutely imploded that nation's economy because surprise, ANCAP economics just leads to economic and society and eventual societal collapse. So
this libertarian coworker of mine that I used to debate with from time to time, I had to I held back calling him a fascist because where I was at, but it was so interesting how libertarians have such a childish view of the world when it comes to how government works. It's like there wasn't one single far right demagogue he did not support. I was tempted to say, is there one fascist you don't support? Like, it's just hilarious just how dumb libertarians are. It's like libertarianism, I do think is a childish, like in America, for those libertarians outside of America, This doesn't apply to you. I'm speaking from American libertarians. American libertarians have to have the most childish outlook of the world. They can't. They cannot see things from a dialectical perspective on how one thing leads to another. Why governments work the way they are. Why capitalism works the way it is. It always is some conspiracy from the outside, but never from the inside. Like, I did not think ENCAPs existed until I became a communist, and I heard it's like, what the fuck is an ENCAP? It's like
same.
I thought they were a meme. I'm not even joking. What the hell is an ENCAP?
It was kind of always for me, something like a meme or just something that I had heard of, but I kind of like didn't really think it really like existed except for like, I treated it as like it was a myth, just some fairy tale or something like that. And then the more, and then as I grew into being looking more into it and associating myself more around people and the toxicity that is the internet, it's one of those things where it's just like, oh no, there actually is people that are this fucking stupid and actually believe this nonsense. And it's just like, I'm like, so you want you want a capitalist society, but you don't want they claim not government. They don't want any government in their life, but let's be real. It's more the fact that they don't want any sort of regulations. It's like, okay, have fun drinking that that tap water that's probably gonna give you 5 different diseases and probably kill you.
What's hilarious? There's this one. I don't know if you're familiar with Eric July, but he's an NCAP, by the way. Like,
oh god,
he revealed to Geeks and Gamers and everyone that he was an anarcho-capitalist, and they didn't even know what the fuck he was talking about. Like, what the fuck? It's like, NCAPs are not taken seriously. Some of the dumbest people imaginable. By the way, this person is not white, so don't assume he's white. Like, anyone that's watched Young Ripa or Eric July, don't do it here.
Which I can understand why people might have that thought, because that is what most ANCAPs are. But
July is not white. He's black. So don't. I have to dispel that now. But, but it's still, NCAPs are some of the dumbest people you'll ever meet. Like, my coworker was a literal NCAP, and I asked him, "Are you an NCAP?" Because he has the same viewpoints. Like, oh my god, crony or some of the most ridiculous like arguments ever. Which it's the stereotype for communism. Like, the real communism never existed. NCAPs, for those who don't know, don't believe we ever had capitalism. Some of them even go as far to say that they're the real anarchists.
Yeah. Well, and that.
Than capitalism, like a system of a hierarchical system that has one class above the other. When anarchists hate there isn't their entire motto no gods, no masters. Like, you can't have that with NCAP capitalism.
Yeah, it really is a perfect example of trying to have your cake and eat it too. Like, you can't. You just can't. It's.
I would highlight this comment, but considering there's 2 white people in this stream, it would not be a good look. So I can't highlight that or comment what I believe. I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't disagree with you, but if I were to say that openly, that
might be taken a certain way.
It would be taken out of context. I would be considered a racist. So
yeah,
I don't disagree with you, but I can't publicly say I agree because you're not wrong. It's like, when you hear enough NCAPs speak, like, I don't understand how anyone could why these people are considered serious. Okay. And the biggest supporters of Trump are NCAPs. Let's be real with ourselves. They're the biggest supporters of Trump. Like, Rageaholic, I don't know if anyone knows who Razor Fist is. He's a fucking NCAP too.
Oh yeah.
Like, I used to like the guy until he started simping for Trump so much. I just got sick of hearing his fucking Trump simping. It's like what? It's like they're just so dumb. It's like their entire worldview is just like government bad. And guess who was their biggest inspiration? Ayn Rand.
Oh yeah, the one who wrote like who even the libertarian shitheads that made South Park even admitted was like the biggest hunk of garbage.
Ayn Rand, and I'm not praising her at all. One of her only base takes is she thought libertarians were idiots, that they were no better than hippies. She couldn't stand libertarians. She thought they were idiots. So the founder of your own ideology despises you, and it's hilarious that you're her fucking disciples.
Well, yeah, it's just kind of well, I mean, think about it. That's kind of what Trump does to his own people. He basically, essentially, is treats them, as simpletons. And he said, I mean, he even decades ago even said that if he would have ran as a Republican because they are the biggest idiots, in the entire world. And it's one of the okay. But yeah, it's just, so it's just kind of one of those things where the fact that these people, just they basically idolize people that end up that just basically are making fun of them or that essentially hate them.
Like Trump said, I love the uneducated.
Yeah. So yeah.
These people don't understand it. Trump supporters, if you're watching this, he fucking hates your guts. He thinks you're an idiot.
Yeah, you are a meme to him.
It's like Trump was disappointed in the insurrection, like in 2021, that that his supporters were that they weren't rich enough for him. He was commenting on their economic status. That's just how fucking much Trump hates his own supporters. Like, okay, I'm not saying this Hitler wasn't this hateful towards his own supporters like fucking Trump is. Like, I think the one thing that makes American fascists interesting is how much they despise the people that support them.
Yeah.
That's what makes American fascists probably the most incompetent of any fascist in history. Because if you compare other fascists, I'm not praising them, I'm being dialectical here. They did not show this much contempt for the people that were supporting them. Because the one thing that they played upon with people that people valued was a sense of community. Fascists in America don't give a fuck about that.
Yeah. I mean, they give a fuck about a certain community, but
Well, a sense of community where you feel like you're part of something bigger and you feel like you belong somewhere. Like,
yeah,
other fascists are much better at doing this. Because let's be real, Trump supporters, they're fickle. Like,
yeah,
I feel like you will get a lot of these people who will get violent, a good amount of them, but I think a lot of them will look for somebody else because they'll see Trump as a loser. Because Trump, if he loses, I'm not making predictions here. I'm saying if he loses, I think Trump is finished. If he runs again, what is he going to do? He'll be 84 years old in 2028, and people are just going to think he's just some old man that is far past his prime. Like,
yeah,
the young people that are voting in this election for the first time, they're like, oh, him again.
Yeah,
I feel like it's over for Trump if he loses. Like, one way or another, it's over for Trump. Whether he wins or loses, it's over.
Yeah, and they're and they are going to go with somebody that is you know they'll probably end up next election going with somebody that is probably at least 20 years younger, so basically like 60 or so, and they'll probably, and I honestly, and honestly it's probably they'll probably go with some, it'll probably be somebody that at right now that we probably don't even give a second glance at, but will probably become a lot more relevant in about 4 years. But yeah,
Ron DeSantis had a chance had he waited to run.
But he got he got a little too eager, a little too antsy. He kind of jumped the shark, so to speak, and yeah, it cost him. So,
I do think Ron DeSantis had a chance to win had he not run in this election. Like now, if he tries to run again, people are like, oh yeah, it's this guy again.
It's the guy that basically tried to usurp Trump, back then, and yeah.
He fucked himself. He really did. And Gavin Newsom was smart not to run. He was smart.
Yeah.
Not to mention, because people's attention was on Florida, now people are full aware of who Ron DeSantis is.
Yeah.
Governed, and people are not going to want that psycho to get into the White House. It's like he was stupid. He had a decent chance of winning the White House had he not been impatient. Because I actually think Ron DeSantis is actually scarier than Trump.
Oh yeah.
And I'm actually glad he ran in this election cycle because he fucked himself.
Oh yeah.
Because the person who will run in the next one is actually I'm more concerned with the next election cycle, not this one, because I don't think Trump or Harris are as dangerous as the people that will come after them.
Yeah, and let's just be perfectly clear here. Like, yeah, they've had women who have run as presidential candidates for the Republican Party before, but the realization is too, and this goes into their sexism and misogyny. They're realistically never going to probably actually pick a woman candidate to run on their ticket because because again it's a very patriarchal party, whereas the Democrats, yeah, they're at least more open to running a woman candidate because no shit, a woman candidate appeals to women.
And if Harris wins, I think she'll be president until 2032.
Yeah.
I don't see her losing like in 2028 if she wins, simply because think about this, and I hate to say this, white women especially, are not going to want the first woman president to be a one-term president.
Yeah.
And I do think they're going to weaponize that in the next election cycle. And of course, I shouldn't be bringing this up now, but it might be premature because Trump could very well win this. But we have to be prepared for all variables. Okay, Trump, we know what to expect. But Harris, we don't fucking know what to expect from Harris, really. We don't. And that's what makes her far more dangerous of an enemy than even Trump is, because we don't know what she will do when she's president for the next 8 years. And I say 8 because I don't think she will be a one-term president.
And I also do agree with that whole thing about, a lot of white women, a lot of women in general, but white women backing her. I also believe that also has the potential to bring out probably the worst specifically in white femme liberals who, claim to be feminists, but at the end of the day, would throw trans women under the bus, if it benefited them. So I think we are going to see certain, like, that. This is why I tell people in the trans community, the Democrats will not save you. They don't give a shit. And if they actually do think that the Democrats are like their saving grace, that that they're the ones that are going to protect them from, no, they're not. Like, you give it a few years, and like you said, Jordan, they're going to weaponize, this. They're going to weaponize the idea of a woman president being in there, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we don't start hearing the same sort of rhetoric that we hear from a lot of right-wing psychopaths of, well, what is a woman? And, essentially trying to define what a woman is. And basically all the turfy transphobic, slop that you can imagine.
I do actually see the Republicans becoming more misogynistic if Harris wins. And I argue that this will actually backfire on them badly, because even Republican women will get sick and tired of being dehumanized like they are, and they'll vote Kamala Harris in bigger numbers in the next election cycle than the first.
Yeah,
if she wins. And I'm not saying this as wishful thinking. I'm just looking at dialectically where we're seeing the Republicans and how they are actually panicking right now of a possible Harris victory, that Harris winning is a reason why women shouldn't vote. Like, you're going to see the Republican Party get more and more unhinged. And I feel like if Harris wins, it's going to be the death of the Republican Party. Because viably, how are you going to run a party where the base hates women? I just feel like an alternative is going to pop up in the next election cycle, and they probably won't win in the next election cycle. But I do think the Republicans are going to go the way of the Dixiecrats.
Yeah, and I will also say too that the what is a woman and what is a man are definitely racist and sexist terms. Like, I agree with that, and that's why these right-wing psychopaths use that as their one of their dog whistles. It's it is not just based in trans misogyny, but it's also based in racism. But again, don't get it twisted. Like, it is, I would not be surprised if, that they don't start drawing more people from the Republican Party, and we're going to start seeing, and we are going to see some of the vile shit that we've come to expect from the Republicans coming from, from a lot of white liberals in the Democratic Party. I wouldn't be a bit surprised.
I think most of the people I think that will leave the Republican Party will be women. I think that will leave. I think it's going to be mostly women.
Yeah.
And those from other communities who in the Republican Party. And we may not see it now, that I do think Harris is smart about this. If she pulls it off, she was brilliant in doing this, because these are the people she's probably going to be depending on in the next election cycle. She's not thinking about this election. She's thinking of the next one.
Yeah.
Like, this is why Harris is more dangerous than Trump, because this is why conservatives in America are fucking stupid. They only think of the here and now. They don't think about the 8 years or 12 years or 20 years. Republicans, that's why Republicans are incompetent as fascists, because Republicans are impatient. They can't actually. Yeah, they managed to get certain things done, but let's be real, with Trump, they got the things they wanted because of luck. I don't think it's because of stuff that they actually planned out. Like, the very fact is, you had like almost 40 years of rollbacks in a few years is because they got lucky that Trump won. If Trump did not win in 2016, I don't see the amount of rollbacks we've gotten happen as quickly as they have.
Yeah. And, well, I mean, number one, had he not won in 2016, we would have let's see, it would have been we're now a 6-3 court. So so we would have been what, like I cannot do math right now. -3, that would have been, it would have basically been a 6-3 liberal court at the time. So basically it would have been, it would have basically been, roughly a supermajority liberal court, that we would have had under Hillary. But yeah.
Rollbacks were going to happen, but I don't think they would have happened to the extent that they did.
Correct.
The
Yeah.
Republicans were it happens way too quickly, and it galvanized women of, like, young women especially, I think are going to be the biggest supporters of Kamala Harris, because okay, I don't want to downplay the effects of Roe v. Wade being repealed on any woman, because that would be ridiculous. But young women are going to be the most affected by this, and because they'll have no say if they get pregnant or they get raped, and they'll be forced to have a kid, or they're afraid of going to the hospital because they won't get treatment, or they have to wait till they're almost dead to get proper treatment. Like this, of course, I do see this as a hostage situation. It's disgusting. To them, voting for Kamala Harris is life or death.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, okay, I'm not saying that this concern isn't legitimate. And I do think that this is something that I think a lot of Democratic voters, this is going too far, I think, by the Democratic Party, even by a lot of Republicans, moderate Republicans anyway, that this is going too far. Because if you think the crisis of people not having kids is bad now, how bad do you think it's going to get if Trump wins?
Oh yeah.
Even less people are going to have kids because they're not going to want to risk dying because they get pregnant. Like, men don't understand how dangerous it could be for a woman to be pregnant, because not all women are made the same way. Some women, they require certain treatments in order to have a pregnancy be safe, or sometimes they cannot have children because of their body. Like, we don't know. Women's bodies are built differently than men. And men who don't know what the fuck they're talking about should not be making decisions for women. And women that do not care one way or the other about abortion, they're mostly like rich white women that could basically just go to another country to get an abortion if they wanted it.
Right.
Like, it is one way or the other.
Right, and that's why, like a lot of those anti-abortion, laws that they try to pass, like they, let's be realistic who they're targeting. They're targeting the marginalized communities, Black and Indigenous people, and they are, and let's be real, they are targeting the Latino community as well, but they are also, it is also targeting, just in general, the poor, and that's so yeah, it's all based on being anti-poor and white supremacists. So, because the idea is that they want more white babies to, because they essentially feel like, that their population is shrinking, and they want to continue to pop that population up, because,
I know this. I'm just going to say this: white people should be bred to extinction. I should probably keep my comment to myself. I had to say that as an edgy joke. Yeah, white people should be bred to extinction. White people are not a culture. Like, white people's culture is Hollywood. That's white culture.
Yeah, and again, when all these people that that are wanting to, that are wanting like this, white race, and what is it that the fucking Nazis say like the future for white children or blah blah blah, and it's just basically like it's just kind of like, first of all, again, there is no like real like white race. There's, again, there's different groups of people that, like, Irish and Scottish and German and Italian, like there's different groups of people, but there is no cohesive white race. So it's and now that and that is, and frankly, that is true. The fact, at the end of the day, it's like, it doesn't really matter what race we are. If anything, it's just how much melanin that we have that we have in our skin. That's the only real difference. At the end of the day, we are all human beings, and that's just too much of a leap for most Americans. But let's be honest, white people in general, to grasp that concept. It's just, it's way too much for their tiny brains to comprehend.
I know. Okay, Fried Tunes, I did that as an edgy joke because
yeah.
Hey, I feel like because I'm basically of European descent, I can make that joke.
Yeah.
And I do that to trigger my hate watchers, which I know are watching me, who are who are the same kind of people. Like, one of them basically one time said I'm a traitor to my own race.
I think you have achieved the ultimate win if you get called like a race traitor, or that you're promoting white genocide, that you're anti-white. Because I've had that before.
Okay, I know this is another edgy joke. I think white genocide is based.
What specifically white Christian genocide?
Yes, that's fucking based as fuck.
I just, that's actually a joke that I make with an edgy joke I make with my partner all the time, being just like, I just want to kill a bunch of white Christians. That's all I want to do. Like, I just want to kill a bunch of white Christians. And then they just look at me and like, okay, babe, let's get you to bed.
Careful, YouTube may think we're fighting violence against whitey.
God.
Well, consider how fucked this whole situation is. We gotta have a fucking laughy. Come on.
It is kind of one of those things that's really good to kind of, because this whole election cycle has just been a roller coaster, and it has been frustrating, and quite frankly, I have found it quite insufferable. More insufferable than I ever have with past elections. And to be quite honest, at least with the Republicans, like, I know that they're stupid. I know that that I know what to expect out of them. But from a lot of liberals, holy fucking shit. I've actually lost friends this year and had to block people because, just because of how insufferable they are. And because I've tried to have this conversation that I'm not voting because, I'm not going to be complicit in genocide. And it's one of those, and then I just, get a whole bunch of things, the typical, but Trump sort of bullshit. And it's just like, after a certain time, I'm like, really? Is that all you got? That all you're running on? Because that doesn't convince me.
How dare you care about genocide? How dare you?
Well, and then what I really love is especially from, cis white liberals, is when they're like, well, you're trans, you should give a fuck. And I'm like, that itself is transphobic, because it's basically assuming, just because I'm a trans woman, therefore I must vote for Kamala Harris because I have to protect myself from the right-wing psychos. Like, honey, like it doesn't matter. They're going to come after me, regardless anyway. So like,
It's
so
also sexist and racist as well, because they assume if you don't vote for Trump, like you don't care about black people.
oh yeah, that's yeah. I mean, I've gotten a little bit of that too, but it's just
And
like
you talk to many black men, they have legitimate reasons not wanting to vote for Kamala Harris. And make no mistake, because you're seeing it already, and they'll do it after this cycle's over. Black men are being villainized in this election, and it's
oh
disgusting.
yeah,
It's like, do you guys not know what Kamala Harris has done to black communities in my state? Do you not?
yeah,
Are you that out of touch?
yeah. They are.
Or
That's
what
the
Obama
problem.
said about black men, or what she has said about black men. It's like, or of course, black liberals are saying about black men. It's like they have legitimate reasons for not wanting to support Harris. Of course, there's also this stupid narrative. Oh, there's a surge of black men supporting Trump. It's like those people are such a small minority. They're mostly petty bourgeois.
Yeah,
Most of them. It's like, and that's also racist. They're claiming that black men are supporting Trump. No, most of them don't support Trump.
at the end of the day, it's X person should support X, is supporting X person, or X person should be supporting X person. It's all at the end of the day a dog whistle, and that's where it's like oh well, black see, these black men are voting for Trump, therefore black men should vote for Trump because reasons, or you're a trans woman, therefore you should vote for Kamala Harris because she's going to protect the trans women. Like, no, she's not. It's all a dog whistle, because at the end of the day, it's either going to be racist or sexist, or it's going to be homophobic, transphobic, whatever the flavor that they're kind of putting out there is. And there's a reason for that, because it's like the people, neither one of these fucking shitheads represents them. They actively are. In fact, they're quite the opposite. They are actually lobbying against them and their communities. I mean, we were kind of touching on the whole thing of what Kamala did to black men in California. How many men are still? How many black men are still sitting in prison on marijuana crimes, even though cannabis has been legal in the state for the better part of a decade now? And why is that? Because Kamala Harris was the one that put them there.
She broke up black families as well. It's like that's another reason why they don't want to support Harris. So this goes for black women too. They don't want to support Harris either. It's like there's literally a good reason why black people as a whole don't want to support Harris, and they don't. Okay, this is the thing that really it pisses me off about fucking white liberals. They act like black people are stupid. And I'm just going to say this. No, they're some of the smartest people you'll meet if you actually just talk to them. Like,
oh, yeah.
Like look at Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and Fred Hampton as good examples, or Huey P. Newton, even Eldridge Cleaver and George Jackson. Like, even though I'm using examples from people from the past, but I'm using an example. When you compare them to their white counterparts of their time, they run circles around them, and that applies to even today. Like, they're not fucking stupid. They have a long memory. White people, and I'll say this. I'll fucking make fun of white people because I have a right to. We have the attention spans of a fucking goldfish. The black people do not have that at all. They remember stuff long after it's happened. Like, there's some stuff they know that most of us don't even know about because how long ago it's happened. Like Black Wall Street. Does anyone remember that? Does anyone know about that? Oh, there's many people in the black community that know what that is. white people don't know. If you bring up Black Wall Street, it's like, wait, that existed?
Just
Black people are smart. People need to stop with this. Stop with the fucking stereotypes. Stop looking at how they act in movies, or get the dumbest fucking people on Fox News or CNN. Forget those people. Those people are not don't speak for the community. Look at the people that are outside of that, and you'll see in a community of intelligent men and women that are well educated, well spoken, that actually know their shit. There's a lot of educated Black men and women that know their stuff, and they're not liberal or conservative. And yeah, maybe some of them may lean that way in one way or another to some extent, but that doesn't change the fact that they are smart people, and anyone that wants to tell you otherwise is a racist. There is no escaping that.
And literally all it really takes is just having a conversation with, like, an actual, like, real conversation with these people. Because I've like, again, one of my like dearest friends, that I mentioned, she lives in the Bay Area, and she's currently going to school and whatnot. But, like, even without, like, a college education, this woman is, like, one of the smartest people I know. She's literally taught me quite a lot, and like, when I was fresh out of high school, I was just a student. I was the typical kind of, like, I was still male presenting, and I'm going to be honest, I was kind of a bit of an asshole, and it was one of those things, and I was just very ignorant and stupid and didn't have a whole lot of, a whole lot of knowledge about things. And, getting, having the friends group that I had, in which, again, this girl is half African American and half Colombian. One of another friend of mine was half Filipina, and another one was, like, full on Mexican. And they were all sweethearts, and if anything, I learned so much from these different cultures because of that. And for and a lot of these fucking white people, they just typically tend to live in their own little, like, bubbles of typically other white people. Like, okay, yeah, sure, they might have, like, that one friend that might be, Black or indigenous or, Latino. That doesn't matter. It's like, actually get out there and surround yourself with an actual diverse group of people. You'll actually learn a lot. And it's.
I debate if they even know those people at all, because they could probably only know superficial things about them, but nothing else. Like,
yeah,
maybe they have the same interest. Let's say they're interested in the same, like, geek interest, but they don't know anything beyond that. So I'm just saying they probably don't even actually know them or truly are their friend. Actually, Pride Tunes, that's what I was talking about. Black Wall Street. That's what I was referring to. Or is that a different event? But anyway, it's still relevant. I didn't know about that until I became a communist. About when I studied America, like, thoroughly. It's like, oh my fucking God, this is horrifying.
Yeah.
It's like, this is one thing that really, like, white people are coming off as racist in this election cycle, because they treat every group that isn't white as stupid. Like, Arabs, they treat them as they're stupid and don't know that. Oh yeah, if Trump wins, like, the election, like, he's gonna do a Muslim ban. It's like, and it's like, yeah, and
how is that any different than what Biden has done? Because Biden, if I remember correctly, I do not think that Biden lifted the ban. Or if he did, I think he only lifted it for, like, a couple of countries. But basically, the countries that were listed in the ban were countries that weren't even the problem children. They were, in fact, the ones that should have been on that list happened to just be, countries that we had business and diplomatic relations with. But yeah, it's just like, yeah, they treat these people like they're idiots, or that like they're supposed to vote a certain way. And it's just kind of like, and it's just like, okay, just because a person is X does not mean they need to vote for Y person.
Like, but does anyone remember when Joe Biden was saying, if you don't vote for me, you're not black?
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Or have people forgotten like how many times Obama has gaslighted and talked down to the black community? Like every time they had a grievance. Like, remember when the FNL players were going to go on strike and Obama came out? The only time he ever, this is a joke I made. No, I'm not the only one that does it. The only kind of strike Obama approves of is a drone strike.
Yeah.
Because it's the absolute fucking truth.
Yeah.
Obama. If you talk to a lot of like black men and women, a lot of them hate Obama because Obama fucked over their community. It's like, this is the one thing that people need to do, and I'm speaking to white people here. Read Malcolm X. Read the Panthers. Read them. Read Dr. King as well, but read them. They all do not have positive things to say about white liberals. Like Martin Luther King believed white moderates were far more dangerous than the conservatives, and they are. My friend that I keep mentioning, she's one of the first things that she actually mentioned to me because she has no problem calling me out on my bullshit, and she's always done that, and that's kind of why I love her so much. She's one of the the things way back then that really helped me grow as a person was like, I would say something that would would come off as very ignorant, and granted it probably was, and it was one of those things where she was just kind of like, hey, like go read up on the Black Panthers and read the works of Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, and I did, and it's one of those things where it's like where I came back to her and I apologized for, if I've ever come off as a certain way, that's not the person that, I am. But it also was a great learning experience, because that was 2011, 2012. This was right around the time that when I right about the time that I did actually start diving into, Marxism and Marxism-Leninism and stuff like that. So in a way, kind of reading up on, the Black Panthers was a stepping stone to, to me becoming a Marxist and, a Maoist third worldist later down the line. So yeah, white people, specifically, if you actually give a shit about, the Black community, you need to read up on, on the Black Panthers. You need to, read the works of Huey Newton and Bobby Seale, because these guys made huge fucking impacts. Read up on, read some of the poetry from people read the works of Assata Shakur, because these people are the ones that essentially have were the catalyst that led these struggles in in our modern day.
So, like,
There's one thing I will say for any white person listening to this. If a white person recommends a black author, don't listen to them. Like, because they're likely going to recommend Thomas Sowell.
yeah.
They're like neoliberal approved, like intellectual. Don't fucking listen to them. And one of the funniest moments I ever had at my job, I was recommended to read him by one of my coworkers, and I told him, I'm not going to waste my time on a bourgeois on some bourgeois intellectual when I could read Malcolm X. Because Thomas Sowell, he has nothing substantial to say. A lot of people like him don't have anything of substance to say. Like, majority of these so-called modern, like, thinkers, they don't, any analysis they give is just so liberal. Like, there's this book I have, I think, Stomped from the Beginning. I have yet to read it. But I feel like, hold on, why do I need to read a 600-page tome when I could read works that are far shorter, that give far more substance, and I can learn a lot more quicker?
Right. It's funny because you were mentioning one of the books and stuff like that you were, because I haven't dived like deep into this too, but I've really been wanting to read.
What I was referring to.
Oh, this is the one. Oh, so this is the same one you were thinking of.
That one, Black Against Empire. I wasn't referring to that one.
Oh, okay. Well, this is the one that I also recommend because it's
You can continue talking. I'll bring up the book and I'll show people what I'm talking about.
Okay. But yeah, no, it's one of those that I've been wanting to dive into, but it's called Black Against Empire, The History and Politics of the Black Panther Party, by Joshua Bloom and Waldo E. Martin Jr. So if you guys like do want like something to dive further into those works and stuff like that, this is actually something that was recommended to me. So, I do want to dive further into it, and I just honestly have not had a lot of time lately.
Fuck it. I'm not even gonna bother looking for it. That's to my room, and I'm not gonna do that. I have no idea how many fucking books I have.
Yeah, I've got that. I have to be careful with the shelf that I put this on. That's why some of them are kind of stacked right now, because because the last time that I even moved this little I'm going to move my camera down, this little candle, which is basically holding them all up pretty much. If I even move that even slightly or kind of knock it, all that stack of books starts coming down. And I actually almost had an avalanche last week because of that.
Well, okay. The thing is, that's not the problem. I have so many books. I have them. The ones I'm not reading at the moment, they're stored in containers.
Oh, yeah.
My room is basically a library.
Based.
I have hundreds of Star Wars, Star Trek, I'm just listing, and other books mixed with hundreds of nonfiction. So I have lots of fucking books. And I have no shortage of books. Like, I have more books than video games at this point. And I've been
jeez.
I've been buying books since 2015.
Yeah.
That became my new hobby.
It's funny, the book that I was talking about here, The Black Against Empire, apparently Pride Tunes just gave the seal of it.
I have an audiobook of it on Audible, but I don't have the physical book.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know that somebody had recommended it to me at some point, and I had actually was lucky because I actually got it from my the local bookstore in Portland called Powell's. So I was able to find that. In fact, most of the books that I have here are actually from that local bookstore, because I typically tend to I don't like to buy from Amazon. I don't like to buy from Barnes and Noble. If I have a chance to buy from a local bookseller, I'd rather do that.
I only buy from Amazon when it doesn't have the book that I'm looking for.
Same. That's what.
Most of my Star Trek novels, I did not buy from Amazon. I actually bought nearly all of them from a used bookstore called Book Off. Like most of my Star Trek collection mostly comes from there, where I bought most of my books were $1 each. So you could it's like, wow, lots of books. Star Wars, most of my shit comes from Barnes and Noble. My nonfiction books, mostly Amazon, because it was convenient. Like, one book I do recommend people to read, I'm speaking to white people here, because white people are fucking dumb. Read The Counter-Revolution of 1776. That will give you an idea, at least, what this country was founded on. Because it talks about every slave rebellion leading up to 1776. And the author, Gerald Home, argues like America had always been a racist country and always been a fascist country. And this book was an eye-opener for me at the time, because I did not know anything. I was an ignorant white boy trying to learn as much as I could, and learning about that. I brought this up to one of my white coworkers, this book, and they got uncomfortable when I talked about the subject.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Like, when white people always like anytime you try to talk about, about a lot, any of this stuff, you can just, you almost can hear their fucking butthole just clench up,
I emphasize the author of this book was black, just to prove it, because to prove it that it wasn't some white SJW, that it was actually a black man that did it.
Yeah.
Some of the best historians today, and are black men. They're some of the best historians, along with indigenous women and men, of course. But I think they're the best historians, because they actually are the ones that are truly, truly giving us the real history of America. Because the problem of Americans, and I think the reason why there's a huge reaction to so-called critical race theory is there's a lot more critical books of America today than there was in their time when they were going to school. Yes,
yeah.
You had Howard Zinn's The People's History of the United States, which was one of the few books that existed that actually dived into America, the real American history. His book was pretty ahead of its time. It was revolutionary when it first came out. I'm not saying that there isn't some liberal stuff in that book, but I feel like Howard Zinn paved the way for other authors to do what he did, but expand upon it.
Yeah.
You have I forgot that one book by Oliver Stone and these other co-author, which mostly focuses on the 20th and early 21st century, about the American Empire. Even though that was from a liberal perspective, it doesn't change the fact that book would not have existed without Howard Zinn. And then you had other authors who dived further into American imperialism. It is difficult to argue that America is not an imperialist and a fascistic country when you have all this literature that exists. That's why the right want to roll back on history, on these kind of books being taught in schools, critical history about America, because they don't want Americans to see that their country for what it truly is.
Yeah, and
people are not patriotic. They're not. Do you think the average American who is under the age of fucking 30 gives a shit about America?
Yeah.
Why are they voting for Kamala Kast in the first place? And I'm not. Why? Because abortion rights. for women, that's the main issue they care about. I'm not saying, okay, by the way, I'm not going to say their concerns are not justified. I'm just saying that's what they get concerned about. They don't care about a fucking America. Like, freaking the Republicans, like, I don't even think they even know what the fuck America is. They really don't. It's like their idea of America, which never fucking existed in the first place. Like, you look at these fucking clowns and Aller Square Garden, and they're like, this is a Nazi rally, but I can't even take my majority of these people seriously because they sound like a bunch of unhinged psychos. It's like, are these people really serious about going back into the White House? Because it feels like no sane person will want to be dealing with these people. And I feel like we're getting close to the conclusion. I feel like, and I do think I'm leaning more towards Harris winning, but it's still possible she won't. But I still lean towards her winning. If Harris does win, I do feel like Trump supporters will be furtively marginalized by society, and I think that's gonna radicalize them even more. How are these people are getting up there in age? A lot of these people. What are they going to do in the next election cycle? I kind of feel like the more time passes, I feel like they're going to become irrelevant if Trump loses. And the future of fascism in America is going to be the Democratic Party.
Oh, yeah.
Republicans.
This is why I keep telling people, like, wait until Harris wins, because it's one of those things that if she wins, which I do stand by the fact that with my personal analysts, that she is going to win. She's going to most likely squeak out a victory. If and when she wins, like you said, the Republican Party is going to become irrelevant. Maybe not. Obviously not like overnight, but they will over time, and the future of fascism will be in the hands of the Democratic Party, which is why I say they aren't going to protect marginalized communities. In fact, quite the opposite. They are going to be as bad, if not worse, than the Republicans, especially when they start drawing from the Republican Party, like women voters, particularly white women voters. We are going to see a rise in homophobia and transphobia that's going to come from these people. So the people that are voting for Kamala Cost because they think, oh, they're going to protect, your particular interests. No, they're not. Give it time. They will turn on you too.
I think Kamala Harris might be the Ronald Reagan of the 21st century.
Oh, without a doubt. She's basically Ronald Reagan in a pantsuit.
I think Ronald Reagan with a mixture of Margaret Thatcher.
Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher basically Ronald Reagan if he transitioned and became Margaret Thatcher.
Well, on domestic policy, she'll be Ronald Reagan. In domestic policy, she'll be Thatcher. No, it's reversed. Whatever, you get my meaning.
Yeah, but
she is a scary person. People have no idea how scary Harris is.
Yeah,
we don't know enough about that much about her, other than what we heard about in her time as Attorney General of California. We don't know that much about her, other than that. And I think that makes her more dangerous. Trump, we know almost everything about Trump.
But we haven't even scratched the surface. We haven't even scratched and sniffed the surface of of who Kamala is, and because I think that's why she does it that way. She doesn't want to reveal too much about herself, because once she gets in there, she's going, it's kind of like, lifting the veil and, seeing the ugliness that's going to be underneath. So
I think if she does get elected, we're going to see more of that on her second term than her first.
Oh yeah, it's not like I said. None of this is going to happen overnight. She's going to reveal it slowly, but I don't. But she's going to play her cards right so that way she, can still be reelected in 2028. So,
well, that's the danger of Harris winning, because if she wins, she will be president for the rest of this decade.
Yeah,
and a little bit into the next. And what we need to do is prepare for both outcomes, and regardless who wins, we got to be prepared. But I do feel like Trump would be better in the long run than Harris if he were to win. And I know people don't want to hear this, but it's the fucking truth. Trump is so stupid, and the Republicans are so bombastically racist and homophobic and sexist that I just feel like you will see more of a backlash against the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Like, I do feel like tensions would be worse under Trump. I feel like you would see a lot more violence in the streets with Trump, because people will have enough of what Trump will do. It's like he says he's going to deploy the National Guard. Okay, are you going to do it everywhere in this country? The people who oppose him, like, America's veneer of democracy will be destroyed if Trump wins. I
mean, think of it this way. Again, how different is deploying Homeland Security, who black bagged people in major cities, but I'll use Portland as the example. And how different is that from, again, pointing having snipers pointing live ammunition at college students' heads and essentially cracking open the heads of teachers that just happened to be there. Like, there is no difference. They're equally as terrible. They're equally as evil. Yeah.
But in the long run, I think Trump winning would be better than Harris.
Yeah.
White trans liberals don't want to hear that because they're more concerned about their first world privilege. But
yeah,
more people are not. This is one thing white liberals don't want to fucking hear either. Tyrants have existed throughout all of human history. Did humans just do nothing after they've gained a victory? No. It made them more resolute than ever. And Trump will only just make people more determined to resist the government if he wins.
Yeah.
Project 2025, whatever, if it happens in the way that the Republicans are advertising it, people are going to fight against it. People are not just going to fucking do nothing as they fucking get killed by their own government. They're not going to fucking do it. And if they're willing to do a civil war to save themselves, they will do it, because it's not within human nature to just lay down and die. Because liberals, they're probably the biggest nihilist of any group of people. Like, they're the biggest defeatists. Oh, if we lose, we're not going to be able to resist legally. Fuck legalism. It wasn't legal to resist the fucking Holocaust, but
yeah.
Resistance has always existed, and it will continue. It'll happen under Harris as well.
In fact, Project 2025. Let's not get it twisted. They are going to, the Democrats are going to, implement. They basically already exist to some degree, but they'll basically implement the same sort of policies. They're just going to be a lot more discreet with it, and liberals will ironically support it because they're because, well, let's be real, they're stupid, and they're gonna and because it's all right if the liberal black lady is doing it. But God forbid, if the fucking Republicans, do it, that's evil. No, it's the same fucking policy, and it's still targeting marginalized people. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
No, it doesn't. And I think I'm not afraid of Trump winning. I'm more afraid of Harris, because we don't know anything about her. Trump, okay, anyone that's been that's alive right now, Trump has been in the public eye for like his entire adult life. There's so much about Trump that we know. We know a lot about Trump, and we can predict how he's going to act. We can't do it the same for Harris. Like, I would be more terrified of her than I would be of Trump.
Yeah.
Because she's like the most right-wing Democrat like in our entire lifetime. Like she's more right-wing than Joe Biden is on many issues. That should say something. Despite being 20 years younger than Biden, she is more right-wing than even Biden is. She's more of a committed Zionist than any of her predecessors, including Trump. People don't fucking any idiotic Republican that will say, "Oh, that will try to convince you that she's anti-Israel is a fucking idiot." Nobody is as committed to Israel than the Biden administration. Probably the most committed to Israel over any administration.
They're basically Israel's bitch. Well, at least Biden definitely is. Biden is definitely he's definitely Netanyahu's bitch. And people want to criticize Donald Trump for his his being buddy with Putin several years ago. How is that any different from Biden and Netanyahu? It's not. There is no difference. It's a fascist that is. It is a fascist being cozying up to another fascist. It's which and the only reason, but yeah, but also keep in mind those fascists have differing interests, and they're just a means for each other to try to get something. Once they serve no purpose, they'll of course turn on each other because fascist infighting.
Israel will be thrown onto the bus when it's no longer convenient to support Israel. Like even Harris she may say, "Oh, I'm committed to Israel's defense." She will have no choice but to abandon Israel when it undermines America's hegemony. Like it will happen. It will happen. The question is, how many people will they kill in the meantime? And those who watched the stream earlier, I already discussed how this could be used as a long-term strategy to try to blame anyone but America for what is happening right now in the Middle East, and they'll just blame Jews. I feel like that's the reason why all these laws exist, and inevitably, you're going to see people get sick of hearing about what's going on with Israel, and Americans dying for Israel's wars. I think it's going to happen. You're going to see Americans fighting in Lebanon and Syria and Iran, and Americans are going to die, and they're going to blame Israel. Israel's like, why the hell are we dying for the Jews? You're going to hear that. You're going to hear that, and that will just give them the justification to cut Israel off. Israel is fucking dumb. They don't realize that America will do what it's done to every one of its allies, abandon them. I forgot the quote. It's more dangerous to be America's friend than enemy.
Yeah.
America doesn't give a shit about Israel.
I have a better one. By Mao, because there's actually another quote that wanted to end on, but I'm gonna use this opportunity to interject it. Our enemies are all those in league with imperialism, the warlords, the bureaucrats, the comprador class, the big landlord class, and the reactionary section of the intelligentsia attached to them. The leading force in our revolution is the industrial proletariat. Our closest friends are the entire semi-proletariat and petty bourgeoisie. As for the facilitating middle bourgeoisie, their right wing may become our enemy and their left wing may become our friend, but we must be constantly on guard and not let them create confusion within our ranks. So,
yeah. Well, America in general will abandon Israel. It's like this. Everything we hear is political theater. And that's the thing about Harris. She is a smart woman. She knows what she's doing.
And that's what makes her so dangerous is because she, because she is a smart fascist, you know.
We build ourselves. Every single president, with the exception of Obama and potentially Harris, are fucking stupid. And we've had in the 21st century.
I mean, we already knew Bush was an absolute, just an absolute shit show. But yeah, Obama, he carried himself well. But yeah, he was not as methodical as.
Obama was pretty smart. I disagree with that. I think he was one of the smartest presidents we've had, so far. In my, I think every president since Reagan has been an idiot, pretty much.
Yeah.
A Bush senior. Every president we've had since Clinton has been an idiot, and with the exception of Obama and potentially Harris. Every one of our presidents is a fucking idiot. Biden would count as one of the smart ones in that number, but he's so fucking senile, he doesn't even know where he is. 20 years ago, that would be a different conversation, but no.
He definitely is not the same man that he was, when Obama was president. That's for certain. He's you can tell the mental capacity of that man is not the same.
I think the thing about the most dangerous, what makes Harris dangerous is she was a prosecutor.
Yeah.
Which wasn't Obama a lawyer?
A lawyer and a teacher. Yeah.
And to me, that's what are the most dangerous presidents. Those who understand the law and how it works.
Yeah.
They could do things that other presidents couldn't get away with because they would understand the loopholes behind certain laws. And that's why I say Harris will be the most, I argue she's more intelligent than Obama is, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think she's as good of a speaker. She knows the law. And she is so far more dangerous than even Obama was. Because, not to mention, one thing she does have at her disposal that she can weaponize is her gender.
Yeah. And that's going to be, that's going to be a continuous thing, going forward. And that's, and it's going, and it's going to be used to draw, women voters from both sides in this case. And that's why I say, give it time, and that's going to show its own repercussions when we start seeing, this rise in transphobia coming from the Democratic Party. So,
and you're gonna see more sexism too.
Oh,
because every time anyone criticizes Harris, they're just like, "Oh, shut up! You're a cis." Oh God, that's one thing I'm dreading. Identity politics is going to come back with a vengeance if she.
Oh yeah.
Oh God. Identity politics was. I was there, and anybody who was there during the late 2010, the late 2000, early 2010s, will know what I'm talking about. Gamergate. Anyone who's familiar with that will.
Yeah.
It gave birth to that, and holy shit, it's. If you thought and I'm speaking from someone that who is kept up with entertainment. If you think the culture war is bad now, wait till Harris wins. Wait till she wins. You're going to hear DEI be used constantly. You're going to use another equivalent of DEI being used once that word runs out of steam. You're going to see this a lot more. It's God.
Yeah.
I just hope to God we don't have a repeat what happened in the 2010s where we can't have a conversation, because Jason Unruh, every time he said anything, he was considered a transphobe or a sexist or a rapist.
Yeah, and even to this day, it's like he's still dealing with assholes doing that, and I mean on at least and I was actually there for one of those occasions on when I was having essentially a Twitter exchange with a lot of these fucking idiots, and I had, and it was one of those things where it's like, I was telling these people, like, I am literally a trans woman, and it's like, and he has trans women, non-binary people that literally watch his content, and are who are friends and comrades of his, and and then of course, I get called a transphobe and accused of having internalized transphobia, and it's just kind of like, and that makes absolutely no sense. Like I get it, there are trans people that do have internalized transphobia, but it's like, how am I transphobic, when I'm basically saying that, he had, like, where, like, I'm asking them literally where he has said anything transphobic, and they say, well, go watch this or go read that, and I'm like, that I have, it doesn't prove anything. And it's, it's, if anything, it's just you taking things out of context, and then it's like, oh, well, then you're just a transphobe because you don't see it. Okay, we're done here. Like, and it's the same with, these fucking people that are voting for Kamala Cost, who are, they just go around in circles with you, trying to say that, that you're automatically just, supporting Trump, that you're essentially complicit in electing Trump. I'm not complicit in anything because I'm not voting. Like, how am I electing somebody if I'm not participating in an election?
Not to mention, I live in a fucking blue state. It doesn't fucking matter who I vote for anyway.
Yeah.
Win in California.
Yeah. Same. I mean, same up here, and same even across the river in Washington. I mean, all three of those states are, are Democratic strongholds. So yeah, it doesn't really matter. The state where it's going to matter this year, at least on the West Coast, is going to be in Nevada, because that's a swing state this year. But I still think Nevada's probably still going to swing blue, just because, yeah.
Okay, I think we're at the conclusion, so I'm just going to say this. I look forward to the reactions no matter who wins. Like, if the unlikelihood Trump wins, I am looking forward to seeing the Harris stands like fucking lose their shit. I'm looking
blaming the leftists, blaming the Arab and Islamic communities. Yeah,
I'm looking forward, if it happens, of them crying like bitches on blaming everyone but themselves for why they lost it. And I'm also looking forward to seeing more of their true nature comes out. I'm looking forward to drinking their salty tears.
And same on the Trump side. Like, I'm looking, I'm looking forward to either side, losing. And let's be honest, if I had a choice, I hope they both lose.
Meteor 2020, baby.
Yeah.
Wait,
so
24. Never mind. I'm sorry. Still.
I'd kind of like to end also by saying that, yeah, I will be doing live election coverage for starting at 5 p.m. on Pacific time on my channel on Tuesday night, and basically I'm going to sit through the updates of everything that comes in. So if you guys want to come torture yourselves with me, that I'll be doing that. But to end, I'd like to just kind of end on this particular quote from Mao, just because I think it is pretty relevant to everything that's been going on. Whoever sides with the revolutionary people is a revolutionary. Whoever sides with imperialism, feudalism, and bureaucratic capitalism is a counter-revolutionary. Whoever sides with the revolutionary people in words only, but acts otherwise, is a revolutionary in speech. Whoever sides with the revolutionary people in deed, as well as in word, is a revolutionary in the full sense. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, my closing thought are: fuck Kamala Harris, fuck Donald Trump, abandon them both. Long live Palestine, down with the U.S. empire, and if never mind, I'm just gonna end it there. Long live down with America.
Down with America.